30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome into the Hick At Nite Show. Here's Ryan Hickey.
And then there were four. The Final Four in college basketball is set. All number one seeds for the first time since 2008. Second time ever since the tournament expanded to 64 teams back in 1985. Do we have chalk in the form of four number one seeds advancing to the Final Four? This is the Hick At Nite Show. Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your Sunday. We have so much reaction to get to here from this weekend of games, from the Elite Eight. Now we have the Final Four, as we just said, set. Looking ahead, so much other stuff here as well going on in the sports world. We will break down in baseball, in football. We got a good show. Don't go anywhere. Put your feet up, kick back. Unless you're driving, please do not do that. We got to have you drive safe here and get you your destination in one piece. But relax. We got a good show for you here planned over the next 4 hours. Let's now talk about the tournament. Let's look ahead a little bit here. As now the Final Four set, we know who will be playing in San Antonio next Saturday with a chance to play for the national title. Let's talk about who the team to beat is now that we've seen four games from every team at least left standing. And you look at Florida, right, one of the Final Four teams. They've been the hottest team, I think, in college basketball over the last 2 months, culminating in the SEC championship or SEC tournament championship title, I should say, that they won a few weeks ago, and now advancing to the Final Four here as well, winning the last four games. Auburn, you look at the entire course of the season. I would argue no team's been more battle-tested and has won more battles than the Tigers so far this year of Auburn, where they have held on to that number one ranking in college basketball for most of the regular season. And now I think a team that came in with the most pressure to get to the Final Four and win a title, well, they at least now get to San Antonio and are 2 wins away from winning a national championship. Houston's defense, boy, are they elite. That was on full display today. Ask Tennessee how easy it was to try to score a basket against them. But for the Cougs, not just do they have an elite defense, because that's been known now for a while under Kevin Sampson. That's kind of his calling card. For Houston, they now have, an offense that can also keep up, that is deadly from three. They also have going for them, which has not been the case here in recent years, they got health. All of their best players are available and on the floor playing. Not the case in recent tournament experiences for one Kelvin Sampson and the Houston Cougars. So you see right now some of these Final Four teams, they have a lot going for them. With that said, this is Duke's tournament to lose. This is Duke's title to lose. They are the team to beat because to me, watching them this season and now also in the tournament here as well, I can't find a weakness with them. But like, where is it? Point it out to me. It helps so much that you obviously have the best player in the country in Cooper Flagg. And there's a lot that could be said about Flagg. A lot of adjectives, a lot of different ways to describe his game. Jay Williams said, and I totally agree with him, I think Cooper Flagg is the most complete freshman Duke has ever had. And they've had a ton of talented freshmen that have gone on to big things. I think Flagg, when you talk about where his game is, how well-rounded he is, just coming in right away in year number one, there's been no Duke freshman more dominant, more well-rounded than what we've seen this year from Cooper Flagg. And he's honestly trending right now towards being, I would say he already is, maybe if he wins 2 more games here in a dominant performance, he could be the greatest freshman we've ever seen in college basketball. You know, Carmelo Anthony, Anthony Davis, like there are some big names that you could say hold that title right now. Flagg and Duke win 2 more games, I think we're talking about, in that sentence, in that breath, Cooper Flagg is one of the greatest freshmen college basketball has ever seen. I mean, I have truly no idea how you guard the guy. He scores from everywhere. He's 6'7", so he has great size. Hell, he can knock down the three, shoot 37% from three. So again, he spaces the floor really well, can knock down shots from anywhere, but it's not just the shooting that makes him so special. He has great court vision, a really good passer, solid rebounder, and this guy puts so much effort into the defensive side of the ball as well. Again, going back to complete and well-rounded. He gives you energy. He's a good defender. So Flagg's game is well-rounded, and again, it helps if you're Duke having the best player in college basketball on your team. But with that said, go back to Saturday night when Duke played Alabama. He didn't play great. Just 6 of 16 from the floor, 16 points. He had 4 turnovers as well, so it wasn't like he just was able to put Duke on his back and nothing Alabama could do. He did not play great. But going back to why I think right now it's Duke's championship to lose is because they are more than just one player. They are more than just having the best player in college basketball on their squad. Because they still beat Alabama by 20 in the Elite Eight with their best player having a subpar game because they are deep and so talented around him. Con Knippel is probably the most underrated, unheralded player in all of college basketball who's been really good for the Blue Devils all season long. The problem is when you have Flagg on your team, it's easy to have all the attention, all the cameras, all the talking heads, including this show, gravitate towards Cooper Flagg. But Knippel's been great. Had a really good game against Alabama on Saturday. But it's not just that Duke is the biggest team, like literally size-wise, the biggest team in the country. They're talented. They have good depth. Like, again, even if you've just watched Duke and watched college basketball here just in the last few weeks, maybe late regular season, conference tournament time, or even just the start of the NCAA tournament, like, you then watch a lot of these teams for at least 3 or 4 games. Tell me the weakness you see with Duke. Because I can't find one, but I look at the other 3 teams left still standing here in the Final Four. While they are 3 of the best teams in college basketball, I think we are talking about the 4 best teams in college basketball all season long still standing here in terms of winning a tournament. I think the other 3 teams left outside of Duke do have weaknesses that are concerning. Do have some areas they could be exploited in that could lead to their demise. I mean, you look at Florida. While they were the hottest team in college basketball the last 2 months, they did win the SEC tournament. And now that's impressive because that's the toughest league and the deepest league in all of college basketball this year. That means something. But that said, this tournament, they have been a little streaky. They have been a little up and down. You know, they were able to survive against UConn. They should have lost to Texas Tech on Saturday. Should have. That was an absolute choke job by the Red Raiders. No other way to say it. They blew that game. Florida's lucky to still have their season in front of them. But a big reason why they've been put in positions where they've almost got is because they've been sloppy with the basketball. 41 turnovers by the Gators the last 3 games. They have given their opponent opportunities to put them away. Now, credit to Florida. They still overcome that. And again, still standing still here. But you do that now with these 4 teams remaining. You do that against Duke, you're dead. Dead. If you can't hold on to the basketball and not give them 2nd, 3rd, 4th opportunities here to beat you. Houston, again, we talked about their defense and their improved 3-point shooting. But with Houston and the Cougs, one issue they do have is the fact they can't shoot the 2 well. They shoot the 3 really well. They don't shoot the 2 really well. They shoot just as a team 48.5% inside the arc. That's good for 281st in the country. The 3 ball, no problem. Long distance, A-okay. Short range, mid-range jumper, not great. What's also concerning, you saw it today against Tennessee. They don't get to the line. They do not run an offensive style that forces the other team into foul trouble, gets them on the line, and gets them free points. You know, Tennessee for a while was in good foul trouble, if you will. It was not, or maybe the better way to phrase it here is, was not in foul trouble. Easy. Boom. 2 or 3 fouls late into the second half. Tennessee had as a team. Houston just could not get to the line. And with their physical style of defense, their relentless style of defense, while it is suffocating, they are prone to fouling. That foul total can get high. They can have guys in foul trouble sitting on the bench. As their center we saw got 2 quick fouls and basically spent almost 15 minutes of the first half on the bench. You do that against Duke with their size and their depth. Houston, for how great they are defensively and shooting the three, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. And Auburn, it feels like they've been playing with their food this entire tournament. Even like today, they beat Michigan State. But even late, Michigan State has a breath. They still have some life. That game should have been put away easily. That game should have been put away about 5 minutes into the second half with how Auburn was playing, with how they came out of the game firing. But they allowed Michigan State to hang around. Spartans had some life, making some shots and made it interesting. Well, again, never really close. You can maybe believe they never truly had a chance to come back. They consistently stayed within 9, within 11. They always kind of gave themselves a puncher's chance to come back and win. Michigan State just wasn't talented enough to do that. Duke is. You let them hang around, they're going to beat you. We saw even Auburn in the Sweet 16. They're down by 9 almost halfway through the second half to Michigan. You trail by 9, guess what? You're not going on a 15-0 run the way they did to take the lead and eventually put the Wolverines away. You go down by 9 against Duke, as we just saw what they did with Alabama on Saturday. Hell, what they've been doing the entire tournament, essentially. You go down, they bury you. You make mistakes, they bury you. Everything you do wrong, Duke makes you pay. So again, I go back to asking you here, what weakness does Duke have? What area is of concern to you that has you thinking, yeah, Duke is susceptible. They're vulnerable here to lose. I can't find one. I think right now when you look at the Final Four, even though it is all 4 1 seeds, I think to me this is Duke's title to lose because you had the best player in college basketball in Cooper Flagg. You are healthy. You are deep. And I don't think you have a weakness right now that can be exploited. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476. If you think right now there's a team better than Duke, that you are picking, that's not the Blue Devils, to win the title, right now as there are 4 teams remaining, 888-710-4476. I want to hear from you. Because right now, look, I'd love to be wrong because selfishly, we always root for our brackets. I have Houston winning it all. I had Duke losing Alabama in the Elite 8. So Duke winning does me no good. But with that said, watching them throughout the duration of this season, where they've lost just one time this year since Thanksgiving. And I know a lot of that has been, the ACC stinks, so who are they playing? They're playing all this weak competition. Let's see how they do finally when they play some real teams. They're playing real teams, and they are not making it close. Their best player on Saturday night had an off game. They won and beat the number 2 seed, one of the best teams in all of college basketball all season long. They beat them by 20. Held them to their second lowest point total of the season in Alabama. They are more than just one player. They are elite. They are deep. They, to me, are the team to beat. Their head coach, Jon Scheyer, after the game on Saturday night, did react to finally getting Duke for the first time since 2022 back to the Final Four.
Couldn't be more excited and happy for these guys to my left. I think Tyrese and I, the feeling of losing last year at this point, every decision we made, everything we did was to get back here and then have the team have the opportunity to advance to the promised land, to go to San Antonio, to go to the Final Four.
And that's the other thing too here, right? Because you could really, if you wanted to, maybe before the tournament or even during the tournament, you could look at the coaching situation of Duke and say, there it is, there's the weakness. Jon Scheyer and his inexperience, taking over for Coach K in 2023, losing to NC State, like he's just referenced there, in the Elite 8 last season. Maybe the inexperience, especially when you look at the coaches remaining in Bruce Pearl, who has a sterling resume, right? One of the best college basketball coaches in the country right now. When you look at Kelvin Sampson, been doing it for a while, has gotten Houston to a Final Four. He's always had his teams consistently there every single year. And Todd Golden, he's won everywhere he's been. He's kind of grinded on the lower levels, come up here, and it's had Florida really clicking this season. Jon Scheyer is still a question mark. He took over for Coach K, had no prior head coaching experience, so we didn't have at least a track record to point to and say, oh, he's done it here and there, and okay, maybe we can carry this over. He's come in and now has totally erased any questions you could possibly have about the Duke head coaching situation. So the players on the court, no weaknesses, no questions. The head coach now, no questions. Even though these are the 4 best teams remaining in college basketball heading to San Antonio, I think for me it's head and shoulders. Duke's title to lose. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. If you right now are picking a team to win the title that's not Duke, I want to hear who. I want to hear why. 888-710-4476. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Also proud of myself. I was off last week on a bachelor party. So back here, this is the first show we're doing with the new number. Now, since I've been producing JR for the last 2 weeks with the new number, no mulligans for me tonight. No, we are going to get this right. There is no room for errors here. So far, so good, and not slipping up and giving you the old 855 number here. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476. That is the number to call. Also, you can tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter, to get your thoughts heard here as well. If you think there's a team right now, not named Duke, that is your favorite to win the national title, as we have just 4 teams remaining. It is Hick At Nite with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We are taking your reactions and thoughts here to the Elite Eight action, to the Final Four being set. The tournament is almost wrapping up here. We are getting your thoughts on what you've seen so far, including when we return. I want to discuss this. It's been Chalk City, right? This tournament, we have there's no Cinderella. There's no, if you recall, DJ Burns and NC State. There's no Loyola Chicago. There's been no darling so far of the tournament. It has all been chalk. Would you call so far this tournament through 4 rounds, would you call it exciting? Would you say it's been captivating, interesting? I'll give you my thoughts when we do return. This is Ryan Hickey. The show is Hick At Nite, and you're listening to us right here, of course, on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. The Final Four is set. All chalk for the first time since 2008. For the second time since the 64-team field was debuted back in 1985. We got all 4 1 seeds going to the Final Four. Jay Williams is exonerated, a man who got crushed in the media for picking all number 1 seeds to go to the Final Four. He looks pretty smart right now, chalk sitting throughout the NCAA tournament here. And even though we have 4 1 seeds left, I think there is a big gap between one team and everybody else. And that's why I think it's Duke's title to lose. I think they by far have the most pressure on them to get it done at this point with how they looked. And I think that they, to me, are head and shoulders better than the other 3 teams, the other 3 number 1 seeds remaining in the tournament. And that's why I think Duke, for me, is my pick to win. But I think it's, at least for me, I think it's obvious in the sense of why Duke is better than everybody else. They have the best player. And we've talked about this, and credit to Drunkle Sam on our YouTube chat, which, by the way, you can watch the show live every single Sunday night on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. And the chat, Drunkle Sam writes, as I did call Cooper Flagg the most well-rounded freshman Duke has ever had. He writes, Zion got well-rounded after he left Duke, insinuating his size has rounded out, to say the least. He's eaten one too many beignets down there in New Orleans. Very funny by you, Jungle Sam. But like, you look at it, right? You have Cooper Flagg there, stud. good depth. This is literally the biggest team in all of college basketball. So they got good size that bothers a lot of teams. I look at Duke. I think they are better, more consistent than the other three teams left. This is their title to lose. If you disagree, if you think right now there's a team that you are picking over Duke to win it all now that we sit here at 4 teams remaining, 888-710-4476, 888-710-4476. Before we get to your thoughts here, I do also want to just throw this other question out there as well. And that is, have you found this tournament to be exciting? Because again, we've been just talking about it for the first 25 minutes of the show. It's been all chalk. Favorites for the most part are winning. Very few upsets. Definitely no Cinderella. She was dead this year in the 2020-2025 version of March Madness. But despite the fact that we've had no Cinderella, despite the fact that it's mostly been chalk, I think the tournament has been entertaining. We have gotten good games. We've gotten intriguing matchups. I think right now we are set up for one of the best Final Fours we've ever seen. Like, at least for me, I think sports are at their best when you have the best teams competing for a championship. And sometimes Cinderella does not allow for that. You know, Cinderella is fun, but rarely do you see Cinderella end in a championship, right? You can make a run to the Final Four, maybe pull off a big-time upset in the first or second round, but usually those other teams that are picked off. You know, midnight strikes well before a championship is attainable for Cinderella, especially in the tournament. So that could set up when her run does come to an end, it could set up for some ugly games, some blowouts, and that's not fun. But now that you have truly, I think, the 4 best teams in college basketball remaining, I think we are set up here for the Final Four national title game for the 3 best college basketball games of the season. And I'm excited for that. I think that's great for the sport. I think it's great for us as fans that this season ends by us watching the 3 best games of the tournament. The 3 best games of the season. I'm fired up for it. Because even though I think right now Duke, for me, is the team to beat, what if I'm wrong? What if they have a bad night? We saw Houston's defense give Tennessee and every other team they've played fits. What if Houston's guarding at an elite level, and what if they hit their threes on a consistent basis? Could they pull off an upset? It's possible. Florida and Auburn both have the talent. They've both been battle tested, to say the least, in terms of, you know, what they've done this regular season. They're not going to be intimidated by Duke. So I think all 4 teams do have a chance to win a title. I think, to me, though, Duke is the better team. But, like, I think when you look at the 4 best teams remaining, we are set up here for some really good games. And while maybe getting here was not what you wanted, maybe you're hoping for a darling of the tournament and she did not show herself. You're hoping for a Cinderella to latch onto, and maybe that will drive you to the TV more than just a 1 versus 2 or a 2 versus 3 matchup in a seeding, game. I think the fact that even though it's been favorites, I think we have got some good matchups. I know I was excited to see Duke, Alabama, no doubt about it, on Saturday night. I think a lot of you were as well. And I think now that we are at the culmination of the tournament starting next week, I think we're in for a great ride. Sometimes Cinderella can ruin that by getting blown out because the magic runs out. We truly have the 4 best teams. I am fired up, no doubt about it, to see these last 3 games here of college basketball. So it's maybe not what you've wanted in the sense of if you like the upsets, but I think so far we've seen some good games, seen a few buzzer beaters, down to the wire here action. And I think we're set up for a great Final Four. So I would call so far this tournament, I would say it's been entertaining. I would say it's been captivating. Would you, though? If you disagree, 888-710-4476. Almost. We're not counting that as a slip-up, but almost. 888-710-4ISM. Let's go out to David calling from Buffalo. What's up, David?
Hey, Ryan. Appreciate taking my call tonight, man. I think with this tournament, I think it's good that you've got these bigger names in there, because I think the last few years what college basketball's turned into is like it's only March. That's the only time people talk about it. If you have these bigger names in there, the regular season means more. I think the NIL is going to help it too, get, people like myself who are more into pro sports, relating to it with the, what these guys are making and the endorsements and all that. So there's a relatability to it. And then I think the thing that they'll have to do ultimately is probably create some kind of salary cap down the road where, you know, it isn't just the Wild West and, you know, a rich guy connected to certain programs can, you know, just load up on a team. So it is more like pro sports. But I think at the end of the day, man, like people hate Duke or they love Duke. They're like the Yankees or the Cowboys or Notre Dame football or the Toronto Maple Leafs in hockey. So if you have that team in there that's kind of this villain or they're loved, that's good for the whole thing too. So I think it's interesting, but I think ultimately down the road you're going to have to get some of those other teams in there to level it off. But for right now, this is where it is, and I think the NIL is a big part of this.
I appreciate the call, David. And to your point about NIL, I think it is a double-edged sword. Like you just referenced for yourself that you are now more into it maybe because of it's more relatable because it is kind of looking like college sports. Looking more like pro sports. I think it does go both ways because, like, I know for me, I am sick of, and it's tough to follow when basically it feels like every single year teams like turn over and like there's no continuity. I think like what makes college sports great, especially college basketball, and you mentioned Duke, I think Duke's the poster child for this, is like when you have those hateable guys or lovable guys, they're there for 3 or 4 years. It helps develop rivalries. It helps develop storylines because whether it's Duke coming up short last year, now trying to avenge last year's loss, whatever it may be, you don't really have that anymore in college basketball. It's almost like with the transfer portal and NIL, it really is every single year is a one-off. You know, there's no story arc. Like in college football, for example, we just saw it the last 2 years with Michigan and Ohio State. Each of them had some tough playoff losses and tough seasons the year before. And they brought everybody back. You know, and they maybe added some guys on the transfer portal, but basically there was a core group of guys there that suffered some heartbreak and some disappointment that motivated them the next year. So you knew they were playing for something, right? So like you saw a storyline build from Michigan in 2023 and Ohio State in 2024, Penn State trying to do it here in 2025, but at least you have some storylines carry over from one year to the next. Nothing happens like that in college basketball. And I think in some instances it's good because if you have a bad year, it's easy to wipe the slate clean, get, you know, a new starting five in there and all of a sudden be competitive immediately. You know, you can go from worst to first easier than ever. So it does, in one sense, keep every fan base into it because you can quickly turn your fortunes around. You're not in the basement for years, maybe decades, the way the system was earlier, where it was really tough to recruit, keep your guys, build your guys. You can now turn over your roster in the span of a week. But I think at the same breath, I think it makes it tougher because now you're confused of, okay, I saw this guy here last year, but now where did he go again? I forget. Oh, now he's there this year. Okay, like we had a fun Cinderella team, and now all of a sudden those players scatter and go to all different programs. Like there's no storylines that build from one year to the next. And I think that does, in a way, take a little bit away from the excitement, from the juice going into a season and going into a tournament. So I think it works both ways. It depends on your perspective. For you, David, again, you like it because it kind of relates more to pro sports. For me, I wish we kind of saw more storylines build for more teams at certain schools than basically every single year, wipe the slate clean, new team, new player, new storylines. And this is almost like a season that's not connected at all to the previous one. 855-212. Oh, there it is. Damn it. Well, we only made it 32 minutes into the show. And there's the wrong number. I apologize. 888-710-4476. 888-710-4ISN. Caleb is calling from Louisiana. What's up, Caleb?
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for taking my call, man.
Of course, man. What's on your mind?
So you're saying if anybody can beat Duke, I like Florida. I think Florida, because Broom is injured. Didn't he get injured last night?
He earlier today, his elbow. Now, he finished the game, but he was not moving that left arm of his at all.
So I think Walter Clayton Jr. is going to carry Florida against Auburn without Broom.
And then you feel good about them taking down Duke in the national title game?
I think Clayton Jr. is going to match up good with Duke. I don't know if Duke has someone that can stop him. I think him and Flack can go back and forth.
Clay's been amazing.
He is, and I know Florida's got some big guys in the center.
Yep.
And Duke really ain't got that big size. So, to me, that could play a factor. If Broom plays, then Auburn wins. I think Broom could be a factor in the final, but I don't know how serious his injury is. But, yeah, I like Florida, certainly with the Broom injury, but I think Clayton can carry them in the final.
All right, Kayla, appreciate your thoughts here. At least first and foremost here, we don't have too much info yet on Janai Broom's injury. Bruce Pearl did speak after the game, saying they're going to learn more tomorrow. They're getting x-rays and work done on that. I think I said left, I mean right. Apologies. That right elbow that was taped up and hyperextended as he was falling down and tried to block a shot in the second half. Hey, I mean, when he came back into the game, he was only grabbing rebounds, only really shooting lefty. So it seemed like that elbow was a problem. Again, we'll learn more information here. Looks like tomorrow or Tuesday about his injury, but I'm going to go with number one and the obvious here. He ain't 100%. And I think he's going to be limited here as Auburn tries to play Florida, which I think works to the Gators' favor. Look, Florida does have size. Now, so does Duke. And I said before, Duke doesn't, you don't know if Duke has a guy that can match up with Alex Condon, their center of Florida. Duke's got two guys that are pretty big and very good rim protectors. They got the size. If there's one thing Duke has, it's the size to match up with anybody. So that to me is not a concern. You're right, Walter Clayton is going to have to carry Florida, but that's my concern, at least about the Gators. Clayton is good enough, and as we saw against Texas Tech there in the last few minutes, he is good enough to take over a game and lead Florida to victory. But the problem is that I don't know if there's any other guy right now on Florida's team that could do that. If he has an off game, or maybe just is playing average, who else can step up and lead the way? I don't know. Versus Duke, we just saw on Saturday alone, flag is down game. Colin Knippel can come in and light it up. I mean, they've had Duke, at least, in 4 tournament games, 3 different leading scores. They have depth. They have some good scoring, variety of scores. Like, they got some good experience. We just go back to, when you look at Duke, I can't find the weakness. And that's, to me, right now, even though we do have all 4 number 1 seeds left in the Final Four, that's why I put Duke in a class of their own above the other 3 teams left. I just don't have a weakness. And that's why, for me, it's Duke's title to lose. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476. Who is the team to beat as 4 number 1 seeds remain? And with all the chalk so far that it's gone down in the tournament, have you been excited? Have you been captivated with no Cinderella this year in this year's March Madness? 888-710-4ISN. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll continue to take your thoughts. And also when we return, we'll dive into the torpedo bats that have taken baseball by surprise. I have a big take on it that I'll give you after we get this latest sports update from Peter Schwartz.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Our riddle sponsored by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com. Let's begin with March Madness. Final 4 all set. All 4 number 1 seeds are going to the Final 4.
Tennessee will inbound. They will dribble it out. And H-Town ready to invade the Alamo City. The Houston Cougars, for the 7th time in school history, are headed to the Final 4. A 69-50 win over the Tennessee Volunteers.
In the Midwest Final, Kevin Kugler, the call on the NCAA Westwood One Radio Network. The Cougars to face Duke in the Final 4. The South Final, Auburn over Michigan State, 70-64. John Broom, 24 points, 14 boards. Auburn to face Florida in the Final 4. Kevin Willard steps down as Maryland head coach, named the new head coach at Villanova. Now to the women's NCAA tournament.
72-65, 3.9 seconds. Inbounds to Flage, across the timeline. The running 3 from the top of the key. No good off the left side of the rim. And what a difference a year makes for UCLA. They were ousted by LSU in the Sweet 16 in Albany. Here in the Elite 8, they're victorious. 72-65.
Over LSU, the call on the Westwood One NCAA Radio Network. Also, South Carolina advancing to the Final 4, the 54-50 win over Duke. South Carolina going to their 5th straight Final 4. From the NBA, the Cavaliers beat the Clippers 127-122. Warriors 148. Spurs 106. Pelicans over the Hornets 98-94. Knicks beat the Blazers 110-93. Also from the NBA, it was the Bucks over the Hawks, or the Hawks over the Bucks, 145-124. T-Wolves 123, Pistons 104. I'm Peter Schwartz.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network. That's it. Play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night. Here's Ryan Hickey.
Hootie may only want to be with you. Who only wants to be in San Antonio? 1 seeds. Chalk City this tournament so far. Duke, Florida, Houston, Auburn. All 4 number 1 seeds punch their ticket to the Final Four. First time since 2008 we have seen 4 1 seeds here do make it to the Final Four. And I'm curious and discussing and taking your thoughts here. At 888-710-4476, with all this chalk happening, with no Cinderella, has this been an exciting tournament for you? Has it been interesting, captivating? And I would say at least the first 2 days. Thursday, Friday, which are usually the most exciting days of the tournament with wall-to-wall coverage, some buzzer beaters, some upsets. I thought it was pretty boring. Now, that really, for the most part, we didn't get many crazy upsets. Not many close games. So I didn't think those 2 days lived up to the hype or were worth writing home about. But I think when you don't get those upsets early, and now all of a sudden you see the best teams continue to advance, I think we're set up to where we're in position, I think, to have the 3 best games of the year in college basketball in the Final Four in the national title game. I'll take some blowouts in round 1 and round 2 to watch, I think, some epic basketball on the biggest stage next weekend in San Antonio. I think as the tournament's gone on, I think it has gotten more exciting. You know, we saw some buzzer beaters. We saw Houston get a big-time win there over Purdue. We saw Maryland take down Colorado State at the buzzer. Like, we've, I think, gotten some good back-and-forth games, some good drama, some good excitement, even though it's not maybe been unexpected and all the favorites are winning. I still think it's been exciting. I think now we're set up here to have even a better finish than most tournaments we have seen. So I'm excited here. But are you? Have you found this tournament so far exciting? And on that note, with 4 number 1 seeds left, I think for me, Duke is the team to beat. It's their title to lose. If you think right now there's a team better positioned than Duke to win, 888-710-4ISN. Copeland Blackwell, you can also tweet me your thoughts at Ryan_Hickey3, does tweet, Cinderella was better in every way other than reputation than her stepsisters. I'm assuming that means, I guess the number 1 seeds are the stepsisters here, I'm assuming. So he's saying that he's not enjoying the tournament now that there's been no Cinderella. Tony Ray tweets, March Madness has been March Sadness. He's not enjoying a lot of the chalk that's going on. While there's no Cinderella, I think, again, 4 number 1 seeds, the 4 best teams in college basketball. I think we're looking at a great finish here. 855-212-4227. I know I teased, and we're going to talk about here the torpedo bats of the Yankees and how they have taken over the baseball world here in this opening weekend of the season. We'll get into that here in a little bit, I promise, but I want to hear your thoughts on right now as the tournament has now wound down from 68 down to 4. 888-710-4ISN. Chad is calling from Pittsburgh. What's up, Chad?
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for taking the call. I can't argue with Duke. They're just phenomenal. And my second point is, everyone tells me when I'm wrong, and I just love to point out when I think the committee nailed this. If you look at how everything's shaked out, good. You got the 4 best teams, and that's what they picked, and I'm looking forward to next Saturday, and I'm with you. I think you'll see the best teams playing against each other. So, yeah, can't wait.
I'm with you, Chad. I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fun. And not that there was a lot of drama for the most part about who the 4 number 1 seeds should be. You're saying the committee got it right. Like, I mean, once Florida won the SEC tournament, like it was like, okay, they're the final 1 seed. There's no doubt about it. And that's also part of like why I think like I'm so excited is because like this, there's not been a lot of parity this season in college basketball. The best teams for the most part, they may have switched 1 or 2 spots here in the rankings, but the best teams in college basketball have been the best for 75% of the year. There's really been no doubt who they are. Those top 7, 8 seeds, I think you can draw a line between them and everybody else in the country because they've just been so consistent and so dominant. And so that's why, like now when you look at it, like this season really has not been about upsets. There really haven't been too many top teams go down and go down frequently. The top 4 teams, especially the 4 number 1 seeds, have been the 4 most consistent and the 4 best teams all season long. And that's not changed right now come tournament time whatsoever. Brett's calling from Alabama. What's up, Brett?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Not much, man. What's on your mind?
Full disclosure, I'm an Auburn fan, so
okay,
get that out there. But I say you have to rank Duke 1. I would go Auburn over Florida based on the season. If you look at Florida had some blowout losses. Auburn didn't. I know Florida beat Auburn head-to-head, but you know how many games of the year do you see teams go head-to-head, and if they play home and home?
What about, Brett, how would you include now this injury to Janai Broome, where it looks like, at least for when he checked back into the game, that right arm of his was immobile? What's your concern level about that?
Well, you know, in the press conference afterwards, he had ice on it, and Bruce Pearl said he thought he would be fine by Saturday, but he would be real sore for the next couple of days. So, you know, I don't know at this point of the season how much physical work you do to get ready for an opponent as far as just mental, getting prepared. But yeah, and I'd have to put Florida third, and then Houston.
All right.
Of course, you know, being in Houston's backyard, you know,
they're going to get a lot of fans there, Brett.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a real quick question. Based on the entire season body of work, I think we legitimately have 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you had a final poll, right?
Yep, I agree.
Who would you put as 5, based on the body of work of the season?
Everything into account, I would say Alabama. I think coming out of the toughest toughest conference in the league. Thank you, Brett, for the call. Or toughest conference in college basketball is the way to phrase it. They've been battle tested. They've won some big games. I think for me, I'd put Alabama 5. That's what I'd put there. But like, at least talking about Janai Broome, that's going to be a big storyline this week. And sure, while this week leading into the Final Four, it is more mental than physical. How much he's going to practice is probably not going to matter. I am still concerned because you see the impact he has on that team, the leader that he is, his ability to rebound, to pass. He is the heartbeat of that team. Now, they have a lot of experience. They have some other guys they can rely on. So they have good depth. But him and Cooper Flagg have been the 2 best players in all of college basketball. Let's just not pretend if Janai Broome is, I mean, he's not going to be out, he's going to play, but if he's not 100%, if he's closer to 50 than 100 going against Florida, that's going to have a massive impact. Right now, I think Florida's going to win that game. I think we're looking at a Florida-Duke national title game. In large part, I think that injury hanging over right now, Janai Broome, is one that's of concern. A storyline we're going to follow. It's nice to see he got back into the game after going down, which for me, honestly, watching that replay initially, I was more focused on his leg than I was his elbow. When his kind of leg buckled like that, I thought, oh my God, I grabbed my knee. It looked like that was like a hyperextension or something that's going to be more a bigger concern. Now, I guess he almost kind of like half rolled his ankle if you watch the replay. So I guess in a way, that helped take some of the stress and some of the force landing down off of the knee, which maybe it was a reason why his leg is right now not much of an issue, but the elbow is more of a concern. But either, I mean, look, it's good that Janai Broome was able to walk off the court. It's good that he was able to come back and, hell, even hit a 3 in his first shot. But you saw him go for rebounds. He's a one-armed man. If he's going to be a one-armed man this time next week, Auburn, for how good they are, how talented they are, how deep they are, I don't think they're beating Florida. I do not. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. That is the phone number to get your thoughts here. We are talking a lot of college basketball as the Final Four is set. But when we return, let's talk a little football. The Steelers have been waiting for Aaron Rodgers. If I'm Pittsburgh, I ain't putting my foot down and saying, Aaron, we ain't waiting no more. I'll tell you the quarterback instead the Steelers should pursue to get similar results as Aaron Rodgers in 2025. I'll give that to you next. It's Hick at Night on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome in to the Hick At Nite Show. Here's Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on into Hick At Nite. Ryan Hickey with it right here on the Infinity Sports Network. A very happy Sunday to you. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. If you missed any part of the first part of the show, your first hour, don't worry. Easiest way to catch up, Hick At Nite podcast, Nite spelled N-I-T-E, available wherever you may get your podcasts. A lot of tournament talk here, wrapping up and also previewing the Final Four next week in San Antonio. Let's talk a little football here before circling back to some more tournament talk, because right now, as you sit here, it is March 30th in the year of 2025. It is 11:01 p.m. Eastern. Why the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers do not have a deal yet is completely befuddling to me. The Steelers have no real other options at QB. They missed out on Sam Darnold. A lot of the other quarterbacks went off the board quickly. They wanted to re-sign either Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, could not do it, did not do it. There's no Ben Roethlisberger 2.0 sitting out there in free agency, ready for them to sign. And on the flip side, for Aaron Rodgers, you have no other option. The Vikings to him said no. The Jets said, get out of here, thanks, but no thanks, we don't want you anymore. There's no other team even right now talking to Aaron Rodgers. So the Steelers need a quarterback, and by the way, they're trying to win right now, right? They traded for DK Metcalf. They planted their flag. They're not here for the long haul. They're not going to go draft and develop a quarterback as their number one option. They are here to win right now, and Aaron Rodgers is out here trying to play in 2025 with no other team interested in his services outside of Pittsburgh. So each side needs each other. Why are we sitting here then with this deal not being done? With the deal not being made, why are we sitting here with Aaron Rodgers right now not wearing the black and gold? It makes no sense to me. But with that said, the Steelers to me look like cucks as they sit here as Aaron Rodgers continues to flirt with other teams and look at his options. He's clearly trying to wait out the Vikings. And Pittsburgh is just going to wait him out. Enough. They got to put their foot down to make a move. You're not pressuring Aaron Rodgers to sign. What you should do instead is trade for Kirk Cousins. Go get a quarterback that will give you similar production to Rodgers, minus all the headaches that you have already started with, and he's not even a part of your team. There's a lot of questions about Rodgers and his future. What's he going to do? Mike Tomlin was down at the owner meetings this week that started today, and he's already getting questions about the future of the Steelers quarterback. What the hell is it going to be? Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers? What's taking so long? They're already having to answer questions about a guy not even on their roster. Go get Kirk. You're going to win the same amount of games with Kirk Cousins as you would with Aaron Rodgers. You're going to have a whole lot more fun doing it with Kirk than Aaron. And then figure out what you got to do in 2026 and beyond after the season. But at this point, forget Rodgers. Go get Kirk. That should be the move for the Steelers. Because I think, honestly, the ceiling for a Kirk Cousins-led Steelers offense is higher than the ceiling of a Rodgers-led Steelers offense. Look, I still think Kirk's got some juice left in the tank. Maybe not a lot, but I think he's still got more juice left in the tank right now than Rodgers does. And look at his start last year to the year with Atlanta. First 9 games, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. During that stretch of basically half the season, Atlanta averaged almost 25 points per game. Now, I understand. The last 5 starts for Kirk, the bottom completely fell out. He was a turnover machine. Atlanta couldn't find the end zone, and he ultimately got benched for a first-round pick. I know it was an ugly, ugly ending, and here Atlanta is signing a guy to a big deal after 1 year looking to trade him, or at least not planning on him being the starter. It was not a good end. But with that said, what are you getting from Aaron Rodgers that you wouldn't get from Kirk? Did Aaron have a great year in New York last year? At least with Kirk, while it ended bad, he had higher highs than anything Aaron Rodgers did. You know, that Atlanta offense for the first, 9 games was at least exciting. They put up some points. They looked, dare I say, good. At what point did the Jets offense last year look good? They had a stretch in the middle of the season, a 10-game stretch in which they lost 9 of 10 games. Their offense was averaging 18 points per game. They were pitiful. The defense was fine. But yet Aaron Rodgers couldn't do anything. That offense couldn't do jack squat. So while it was a crash landing for Kirk, at least he had some highs. At least he was able to get off the ground, have some success. Again, 17 touchdowns in the first 9 games of the season. What was Aaron giving you? Where was the highlight last year of the Jets? This was a guy who was supposed to take the Jets to the Super Bowl. Where was one highlight you could point me to of Aaron's Jets tenure last year? So when you look at it, at least from the perspective of quarterback play, I think you have a higher ceiling and a better chance of success with Kirk as your quarterback compared to Aaron Rodgers. I mean, going back to last year, the Jets offense averaged less passing yards per game than the Cousins-led Falcons offense did. And that's including the 5-game stretch that was absolutely pitiful for Kirk at the end. The Falcons offense, with Kirk, averaged more points per game than the Jets did last year. You tell me how Aaron Rodgers is better than Kirk Cousins. Kirk, by the way, a year younger. I think he'll be even better coming off the Achilles tear. I know both are dealing with Achilles tears 2 years ago, but I think Kirk will be better from that than Aaron will. And by the way, he's a guy that is going to provide a lot less of a headache than Aaron Rodgers would. Kirk's a good teammate. He's liked by his teammates. When at least he was, winning games early on, he's swag surfing. The entire city of Atlanta is swag surfing. He's got the chains on. People are buying in. There is at least a legitimate likability about Kirk Cousins when things are going well. Where's the likability for Rodgers? Where is it? Again, the guy's already causing distractions and headaches before he's even on the team. To me, it's obvious. Go get Kirk and call it, get ready for 2025. He's not going to be expensive to get. I mean, his trade value is as low as it could be. While the Falcons are sitting here all high and mighty, all tough, we're not trading Kirk unless you give us a good offer. If you're the Steelers, you give, a 5th-round pick? 6th-round pick? That's going to get the deal done. You take Kirk's contract on, which, by the way, you can get out of after next season, so you can get a clean break in 2026 if things do not work out well. Are you ready just to get a better quarterback here in Pittsburgh? You can get him in here for a low price to trade for him and get ready. I think to me it's a no-brainer. I think it's a no-brainer whatsoever. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476. Are the Steelers a better team next year with Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback? Again, I think the ceiling for the offense is higher with Kirk. And again, provides less distractions, less headaches than Rodgers would. I mean, Mike Tomlin was earlier today was speaking with reporters at the owners' meetings down in Florida. And he already is being asked about Aaron Rodgers. What's the timeline? Is there a timeline? Is there a deadline for Aaron to sign here as we're now nearing in and less than a month away from the draft? Mike Tomlin said this to reporters today, quote, when talking about if there's a deadline for Aaron to sign. Quote, not to my knowledge. I don't know that we've approached it from a deadline perspective. Certainly, as I mentioned, you'd like to have settled circumstances. But, deadlines don't often bring that to a head, end quote. Mike Tomlin is going against the very phrase he has always talked about when it comes to player management. He always likes to say, we want volunteers, not hostages. Essentially meaning we want guys that want to be here. Aaron Rodgers was in the building 2 weeks ago. By all accounts, everything went really well. Meeting was great. Why is there no deal? If you want volunteers, not hostages, if Aaron has to think this long and hard, if he was waiting out and maybe still is waiting out other teams to see what their quarterback situation looks like, maybe seeing if there's an injury to a playoff contending team that he could go to, if they are not in, or I should say if he's not in on them from the jump, why are you? Again, you look like a cuck sitting here as Aaron is waiting for a date to the dance, praying that anyone would ask him other than right now the only team that is asking him in the Pittsburgh Steelers. And maybe if no one else comes to the table, if no one asks Aaron to the dance to be their date, maybe then at the last minute because he's desperate and wants to go and rather go with the Steelers and nobody, he'll sign with Pittsburgh. But if you're Pittsburgh, who's supposed to be a proud franchise, who's supposed to be doing things the right way, who's supposed to set the standard for how business is run, with how winning teams are operated, how do you look sitting here as Aaron is looking, begging, pleading with anybody but the one team that's talking to him to sign him? How do you look by sitting here and basically waiting him out? By saying, Aaron, you take your time. You see who else is interested. And if no one is, don't worry, we'll be right here for you waiting, and we'll gladly take you to the dance. It's embarrassing. Put your foot down and say, screw it, we're done. We're getting our own guy. Like, you're not getting much production. You're not going to the playoffs anyway next year. The Steelers are not a playoff team with Aaron Rodgers. They are absolutely not. So if you're going to have a down year, if you're definitely not winning a Super Bowl, at this point, just bring in Kirk Cousins. At least make it look like if you're going to have a breakup, even though this relationship never happened, at least you go out on top instead of allowing Aaron to either begrudgingly go back to you or wait it out and maybe, the Vikings change their mind, or maybe, God forbid, an injury to a star quarterback happens and all of a sudden they want Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers chooses that team over yours. Save yourself the headaches. Save yourself the embarrassment. Go trade for Kirk Cousins and call it a day. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. Are the Steelers a better team with Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers? You also can tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3, and write in our chat on YouTube that can be found on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page, where we stream the show live every single Sunday. Joshua is calling from Minneapolis. What's up, Joshua? Hello, Josh.
Hello.
What's going
Ryan.
on, man?
This is Joshua, 6'1", 245, long-time listener, first-time caller. I just want to get a little bit out, and then I'll listen. But
sure, let's hear it. Let's see where this is going to go.
I think that you hate Aaron Rodgers, that's for sure. And I'm a long-time Colts fan, but born and raised in Minnesota. And I think that you said, well, I think that Kirk has a higher floor and that Aaron Rodgers has a higher ceiling for Pittsburgh this season. And
interesting. Okay.
I also think that what's best for the Steelers is a question of just one season or multiple seasons. I think they could get Kirk for more than one season. I think Aaron Rodgers is a one and done. You save money on Kirk over Aaron Rodgers, I think. I don't know what he's going to want for a contract.
Right. We have no idea.
And so I don't know how they could structure that. But in my opinion, I think that it's hard pressed to say that Aaron Rodgers doesn't still have a cannon, doesn't still have the field awareness, that next level ability, and but he does come with a lot of baggage, and obviously you've been talking a lot about that. And so my opinion is that Aaron Rodgers raises the ceiling, but
all right,
Kirk Cousins raises the floor.
One quick question before we go here, Joshua. I really thought when you came out with your height and weight, we were going to have a prank call here, so I was going to kind of see what was up your sleeve. What's the deal with the height and weight?
That's a wait, what's that guy's name? Dan. There's another sports announcer that does the height and weight every time that people call in.
Is that in Minnesota? Dan Barrio?
No, it's national broadcast. I think he's a basketball player, or he was a basketball player.
Interesting.
It's gonna bug me that he doesn't. That I can't remember the name right now, but I got some anxiety. So
all good, Joshua. Well, appreciate the call. 612-45. If anyone needs a receiver out there in Minnesota, man, Joshua could be your guy. Maybe tight end, I guess, but still good size, can block. Maybe need a power forward in basketball. Joshua is your guy from Minneapolis. Thank you for calling, Joshua. The floor versus ceiling is interesting. I would agree that I think Kirk has the higher floor as well. I think he's just a safer pick in terms of just competent quarterback play. But I think when you look at how Kirk played well last year for half a season. Again, everyone, and I'm not saying this is wrong, the last 5 games are what everyone's going to remember. No touchdown passes. I think it was 1 and 9 interceptions. It was disastrous. I, for one, was calling for Kirk to be benched 3 games before he actually was. So I sit here and try to pretend like Kirk had a great year. He did not. But with that said, at least if you're the Steelers and you're picking between poison basically and I don't know what other option there'd be outside of, you get the point. You're picking between 2 bad options here. You're picking between Brussels sprouts and broccoli. Neither one here, if you're talking about a main course, I'm sure you're excited about. So with that said, with neither option being great, at least with Kirk, you saw at least some, okay. At points last year, Atlanta had an explosive offense. At least Kirk showed you the ability that he can run, and get this team to score some points. I mean, he mentioned it. I'm not sure how much is real versus how much is just trying to save his, face and save his stock. He did mention a shoulder injury he suffered against the Saints, and you look back at, the game logs and look back at the season. That shoulder injury he referenced against the Saints does match up and correlate with him kind of having a bad finish. Maybe the injury was part of it. But you look at Aaron Rodgers, and being here in New York, unfortunately, I saw more Jets games than I wanted to. They just, maybe outside of week 3, I think it's a Thursday night game against the Patriots, there was no exciting high point for this Jets offense. There was no point in the season where wow, this offense is fun, exciting, competent, explosive. At least you got that from Kirk for half the season before the bottom fell out. You didn't get that really more than one time against a crappy Patriots team with Aaron Rodgers. That's why I say the ceiling is higher for a Steelers-led offense with Kirk versus Aaron. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Who is the better quarterback option in 2025 for the Steelers? Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers? 888-710-4ISN. Also, you can tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter. And write in our chat on YouTube, found on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. We will get your thoughts here. And also when we return on the show, let's get into some torpedo bats. Are the Yankees cheating or just smarter than everybody else? I give you my thoughts here when we do return. It's Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night. Here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
So we did have some clarity here as Joshua was struggling to remember the national radio host who does height and weight. It was, we believe, we had a caller assistance here, Jack, that it was Dan Patrick, who does height and weight for, I don't know if it's callers, for guests. Either way, we have found out the genesis of height and weights when calling in. So I guess fair to say if you're going to give your height and weight, I'll give mine. Ryan Hickey, 5'11", 175, pure muscle. I'm just kidding.
What a tank.
No, I have been like 175 for like literally 10 years. I can't gain any weight. I can't lose any weight. Means I'm not putting on any muscle though. But you know what? We just maintain. At 30 years old, Jack, what got to be jacked for? You know, what am I doing? I'm not running over the middle. I'm not a tight end anymore. No,
that's true. That's a fair point. Yeah, I'm the same way. I think I've been the same weight for the same thing. I'm probably like 175, 180. I weighed myself like not that long ago. But yeah, same thing. Like I gained a little bit of weight when I was in college, but
who doesn't?
A lot of Chick-fil-A sandwiches. There was a Chick-fil-A on my campus.
That's dangerous.
That was incredibly dangerous. A lot of Chick-fil-A sauce, a lot of fries. Yeah, no, it was great though. I do not regret any of that.
I could imagine. No, absolutely. And now I feel like at the gym too, just like you leave and it's like, or just go there. Now my hope is just don't get hurt. So let me leave in one piece. As you get out of the peak college days, you can crush 5 Chick-fil-A sandwiches a day and not, feel too bad about it. Now I feel like at our old age, it's just, let me just be able to walk pain-free. And if that's the case, that's a win. Man, we are old. But there it is. Height and weights. Well, you don't have to go do it going forward, but that at least brings some context to what we had from Joshua back in Minneapolis. It is Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Taking your thoughts at 888-710-4ISM. We're talking tournament. We're also talking here the better QB option for the Steelers in 2025. Is it Aaron Rodgers or is it Kirk Cousins? We'll get your thoughts here in a second. But the buzzword from this weekend, torpedo bats. I'm sure you've heard about it. Maybe on social media, maybe about, some friends. But the New York Yankees have figured out a brand new bat design that has worked to perfection. They have tied an MLB record with 15 homers right now through the first 3 games of the season. They had 9 alone, a new franchise record on Saturday against the Brewers, and they have tallied in the last 2 games a total of 32 runs. So yeah, torpedo bats now in baseball as the season starts this week is all the rage. But you may be wondering, what the hell is a torpedo bat? Well, let me play this for you from the Yes Network, who I think did a good detailed job of explaining this new bat design by the Yankees here, debuted in 2025. Take a listen.
Now, you see the shape of Chisholm's bat.
Dude, it's got a big barrel on it.
Well, it's actually a little bit lower than the barrel. The Yankee front office, the analytics department, did a study on Anthony Volpe, and every single ball, it seemed like he hit on the label. He didn't hit any on the barrel. So they had bats made up where they moved a lot of the wood into the label, so the harder part of the bat is going to actually strike the ball.
If you haven't seen a picture what this looks like, picture like back in the day, the Mark McGwire Vortex Power Bat. Remember that? With like the air bubble like at the barrel. So like if you were playing with a tennis ball or wiffle ball, you hit it and whoosh, it goes 10 times, 20 times as far as it would compared to like a normal wiffle ball bat. Like that thing was juiced up just like Mark was back in the day. That's what it looks like. Like it does look like it's called a torpedo for a reason. It does kind of look like it. Where like the barrel is thicker, or not even the barrel, just I guess as you just heard right there by Michael Kay on the S Network, the label area is thicker. So basically where a player makes contact the most, that I guess is where the new barrel is, where the Yankees are going to make the bat the thickest to get the most pop possible. And again, as we just outlined with the stats, 15 homers through 3 games, safe to say the new bats or some of these players are working. I know people want to call it cheating and get on the Yankees, classic Yankees here for skirting the rules. I have no problem with it. What they're doing is completely legal. Really, the only rules that they have to follow is making sure that the diameter of the bat is no wider than 2.61 inches. That's the most we're going to dive into the MLB rulebook here on the show. Not to bore you, but as long as that's the case, basically where you put the barrel, for lack of a better term, There's no guidelines on it. So the Yankees aren't breaking any rules. My biggest takeaway is I'm shocked that it's taken this long for someone to figure it out. Like, baseball has been the most analytically forward and driven sport of any of the four main sports. They've embraced analytics. They've used it, I think, and relied on it heavily more than any other sport does. Analytics in baseball has been a thing now for a while. With how ingrained numbers are and teams having their own analytics departments, how is this just a thought now? How has this not been thought about and implemented before? That, to me, is the biggest surprise. That we haven't seen this already. I give the Yankees credit. The story is they hired someone from MIT. They did a study. They figured it out. And now not all of them, like Aaron Judge doesn't have the new torpedo bat. And rightfully so. He said, look at my numbers last few years. I don't need it. And boy, he's been right. Last thing you want to do is tinker right now with anything Aaron Judge is doing. But a few Yankees, including Jazz Chisholm, heard it there, Anthony Volpe as well, like they took on these new bats and they're working to perfection. Good for the Yankees. I think they deserve credit for being innovative, for looking at this and thinking outside the box. I'm sure now teams are going to catch on. You're going to see these torpedo bats, I'm sure, on your favorite team's bat rack soon. And why not? When you hit 15 homers in 3 games, there's nothing to scoff at there. There's no reason not to try it. So I give the Yankees credit. I don't think they're cheating. I don't think they should be chided in any way. They, within the rules, found, if you want to call it a loophole, found just a different way to go about things. And right now, through 3 games, it's working to perfection. More teams should look into this versus trying to just rat them out to MLB and say that they're cheating. Good on New York. Good on them. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. All right, we talked a lot so far of tournament. We also talked so far a lot about the Steelers' QB options. Who is the best option for the Steelers here in 2025? Is it Aaron Rodgers or, as I suggest, is it Kirk Cousins? Let's go to Kyle calling from Maryland. What's up, Kyle?
Hey, how we doing?
What's going on, man?
Not too much. I think Aaron Rodgers has been done for a few years. The Jets won 5 games with him. Mm-hmm. They won 7 games with Zach Wilson and his backups the 2 years prior. There was actually a game late last year, I guess, against the Bills. They pulled him for Tyrod, and Tyrod scored 14 points in 2 drives. I know it was
against some backups, but I get your point, Kyle.
But Aaron Rodgers played garbage time for part of that fourth quarter too, and then got pulled.
True.
I think Kirk is used to running a run style offense as well. They do like to run the ball in Minnesota when he was there. I mean, I know they throw a lot, but he has no problem handing the ball off, doing that. He did it. He can run a well balanced offense, whereas I think you sign Aaron Rodgers, it's not just about the off-season stuff. It's not just about the off-the-field stuff. It's also he wants to throw the ball 50 times a game and thinks he can, and he'll probably check out. I mean, he fed Devontae Adams like 15 targets a game last year, and they were still losing. And you have Garrett Wilson on the other side, and you're still like, how are you? That offense was poised to look good. I mean, I hope it looks good with Fields, honestly. It looks exciting with the names there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, fancy football-wise, it sounds amazing. Will it work? We don't know. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers has any juice left. He's 5 years young. Kirk's 5 years younger.
Yep.
Come back off the injury. Your body, you were talking about it. You just want to be able to eat Chick-fil-A and not hurt. Trust me, I'm almost 40. I remember being 30, and then the hangovers really get bad at 32, 33. You have to take a full day off from playing pickup basketball after, you know what I mean? It's not just 4 hours and some ibuprofen anymore.
Right.
So go with the younger body. Go with the younger body who has no problem calling, because it's still Arthur Smith. I don't think him and Aaron Rodgers are going to go well together, butting heads with the play call, I bet.
Kyle, I
totally
agree with that point and appreciate the call. You make a lot of good points. I'm with you. Like, I know Aaron Rodgers, and they talk about this a lot, right? Respect. He respects Mike Tomlin, and that's been a a storyline for a while. That's why the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers kind of tied together immediately anyway. There was that video that went viral, I think it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, like them like showing eyes at each other. They basically both admired and had a lot of respect for each other. But when it comes to, like, to your point about the play caller, Mike Tomlin's not calling the plays. He can respect the hell out of Tomlin. I'm sure Rodgers has zero respect for Arthur Smith. And recently, especially in Pittsburgh and his tail end there in Atlanta, it's not like Arthur Smith's given anybody a lot of reason to believe he's the right guy to call the offense and has a good offensive mind. But if Mike Tomlin wants the Steelers to run the offense that Arthur Smith runs, him and Aaron Rodgers are not going to get along. Aaron's not going to listen to him. I don't see that relationship going well. To your point, I think Kirk Cousins fits better in terms of the style of offense that he wants to run. And you still have to figure out running back here for the Steelers, losing Najee Harris. Not that they ran the ball well anyway. They're not really an efficient running team. But at least Kirk fits more in the mold of run the ball, play action versus Aaron Rodgers. Like you said, he wants to be in the shotgun, throw 10-yard slants and curls all day and throw the ball 50 times. Run the plays he wants. That's, I don't think, how Pittsburgh wants to play offense. And I don't think Aaron, even with all the respect he has for Mike Tomlin, is going to change his ways to cater to what Arthur Smith says. That's for sure. 888-710-4ISM. 888-710-4476. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll continue to get your thoughts here on the best fit for the Steelers at QB. Is it Rodgers? Is it Cousins? Also, when we do return, we have 4 teams left in the Final Four. I'll tell you the likelihood of each team winning a title. We'll rank it 4-1. We'll do that after we get this latest sports update from Peter Schwartz.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
This report sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. We tip off the NCAA tournament. All 4 number 1 seeds are through to the Final Four.
Tom Izzo waving to his players saying, do not foul, as Michigan State waves the white flag. The inbound to Pettiford. Final seconds come off. War Eagle for the second time in 6 years. Bruce Pearl taking the Auburn Tigers to the Final Four.
Spirididis on the NCAA Westwood One Radio Network. In the South Regional Final, Auburn over Michigan State 70-64. In the Midwest Regional Final, Houston over Tennessee 69-60. Auburn against Florida, Houston and Duke in the Final Four. Other college basketball news, Kevin Willard steps down as Maryland head coach and was named the new head coach at Villanova. Now to the women's NCAA tournament.
Somebody's about to add to their legacy. Duke down 4, just 5 7/10 inbound coming. Richardson's inbound was batted, and it goes right to Fagan. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. 5 times in a row, South Carolina is going back to the Final Four.
The call on the NCAA Westwood One Radio Network, South Carolina to the Final Four with a 54-50 win over Duke. Also, UCLA advancing to the Final Four, beating LSU 72-65. In the NBA, it was the Rockets over the Suns 148-109, Raptors 127, Sixers 109, T-Wolves 123, Pistons 104. In baseball, Padres over the Braves 5-0, Yankees over the Brewers 12-3. Aaron Judge hit his 4th home run. NHL, Sabres over the Caps 8-5. Alex Ovechkin his 890th goal. I'm Peter Schwartz.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Check out our new and improved website at infinitysportsnet.com. That's infinitysportsnet.com.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
And welcome back. If you missed any part of the show, check out the Hick at Night podcast, Night spelled N-I-T-E, available wherever you do get your pods. And also on YouTube, you can check out my personal YouTube account. Just type in Ryan Hickey right there. Nice smiling face. A lot of videos from this show posted to my YouTube channel afterwards. So nice way where you can watch a lot that you have missed as well. Top of the hour, we'll get into Deion Sanders and his expectations now that he is one of the highest paid college football coaches in the country. We'll also get back to your thoughts here as well in terms of talking about the Steelers and their quarterback options. Is it Aaron Rodgers or should it be Aaron Rodgers? What about a guy named Kirk Cousins? Is that a better option for Pittsburgh here at QB in 2025? I think so. You want to give your thoughts? 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Before we do that, the Final Four is set. Auburn, Duke, Houston, and Florida. My apologies to the Gators there. I almost had a bad brain fart. All 4 number 1 seeds advance to San Antonio. They are now battling for a championship next weekend. Let's talk about who is the most likely to win and raise a banner in a little Final Four predictions. All right, so we're going to do a countdown here. Likelihood to win a championship. We're going to go from 4 least likely down to 1 most likely. Let's start at
number 4.
I have Auburn. I think of the 4 teams left, Auburn is the least likely to win the title. Here's why. Number 1, the Janai Broome injury is a real concern. Best player in their team. I mean, him and Cooper Flagg have been the 2 best players in all college basketball. But late in that game against Michigan State today, he fell down hard, twisted his ankle, kind of buckled his knee a little bit, but the issue is his right elbow. It was basically immobile. He was a one-armed bandit for the little that he played left in that game. I mean, I'm no doctor. I don't know how much better and how much more that right arm is going to function between now and Saturday. He's going to play. I don't think he's going to be 100%. I think that's going to be spelled doom here for Auburn. Not to mention, they have been a little sloppy this tournament. You know, should have put Michigan away for quicker than they did. They didn't let him hang around. Trailed by Michigan by almost 9 with nearly halfway to go in the second half. Like, you do that against Florida, you're losing. And so, injury, kind of playing with their food a little bit, some sloppiness. Auburn, in terms of Final Four teams likely to win a title, they come in at number 4.
Number 3.
I'm putting Florida here. Their defense scares me a little bit. They've been leaking. They could not get stops for large stretches of time against UConn. And they got lucky. They got bailed out. That Texas Tech just could not make any free throws late. If Texas Tech hits their free throws on Saturday, this game's over. We're talking about Tech as a Final Four team for the second time ever, not Florida. They got bailed out by some bad free throw shooting and also some clutch play from Walter Clayton Jr. Look, he's great. He's one of the best players in the country. What concerns me is he does carry a lot of Florida's water. Who else could step up if you're having a bad game or he's shut down? I don't know. Now with competition increasing, Florida's got to tighten up. Can they? I'm not too confident they come in here at number 3.
Number 2.
In terms of Final Four teams likely to win the national title, I put Houston at number 2. Like, they have the best defense in the country. And what they do and why it's so good is they force you to play on their terms. They dictate the pace. They dictate the style of play. They come in waves at you. They have really good depth. I mean, ask Tennessee today how it was trying to find some offensive success. They had 15 first half points, fewest by any elite team since 1979. That's the fewest by number 2 seed in any game, in any half, of any tournament game ever. That's how good Houston's defense is. They also hit the 3 at a high clip. So again, if we saw it again today as well, they hit the 3 they pulled away from Tennessee. 3 different guys on Houston that could shoot over 40% from 3. They play great defense, hit the long ball. Houston, number 2 in terms of Final Four teams most likely to win a title, which means we're left with
number 1.
It's Duke. Hate to say it. It's Duke. I can't find their weakness. I really can't. They have the best player in college basketball in Cooper Flagg, but they have other big-time contributors around him as well. They've had 3 different leading scorers, Duke has, in their 4 tournament games. They're not built around Cooper Flagg. They have so much other talent around him as well. They play really good defense. They are consistent. They've been consistently dominant. They've lost 1 time since Thanksgiving. 1 time. They've been very good. They have great size. That's a team. I don't know how you're beating them. Because for all the attention Cooper Flagg gets and all the attention Duke's offense gets, look what they did to Alabama Saturday night. Crimson Tide, #1 offense in the country. We just saw them have a record performance against BYU in terms of three-pointers attempted, three-pointers made. They scored, 134 points? They ran BYU out of the gym. But then comes Saturday. What did Duke do? Put the clamps down. Held Alabama to their second lowest point total of the season. And 65 with their star player not playing great in Cooper Flagg. Still beat them by 20. A 2 seed in the Elite 8. Duke's legit. They, to me, come in #1 here in terms of Final Four teams to win a title. So, when you look at the likelihood to win a championship, now that we have reached the Final Four, Auburn 4, Florida 3, Houston 2, Duke coming in #1. I think they are, to me, the team to beat, as there are 4 teams left. 888-710-4ISM, 888-710-4476. That is the number to get your calls in here. Speaking of some hoops, let's go to friend of the program, Lee in Cincinnati. What's up, Lee? Lee?
Yeah.
There he is. What's up, Lee?
My bad. Oh, not much. Hey, I sincerely apologize, sir. And what I have to say is, dadgummit. Hold on. I got to, but no, I will say this, right?
You okay, Lee?
Okay. Me? Well, I'm fine. I'm just, I'm actually sick as a dog, but I like listening to you, and that's why I wanted to call you. But no, but here's the thing. The Gators, okay? And I know what you're saying about you think that, Duke's good, but I think the Gators are the best team that there is that's still left. I don't think there's anybody that can beat them because the team they have Chinny Lou, they've got they've got a number of people that they've got 3 big guys, 3 guys who stand 6'10" or taller.
Yep.
And they could all be up there at the same time. Then they can throw out where they can throw out. Right, they've got a team. I don't think anybody can beat them. And I'm just wondering, what do you think? Do you think that there's any team that can beat them?
I do.
Still left in the. But okay, I understand. But I know you said also that Duke's got big guys. Okay,
yep.
They do have
good size.
But I think that Florida's got size that can match up to Duke. And the thing is, 3 big guys. The difference is the big people that Florida has. They're actually very, very. They're very athletic. They're not like big lumbering people, and that's the point. That's what's helped Florida. Also, the fact that Florida's got such a deep bench, they can keep running people in. They can wear anybody down. That's how they've gotten as far as they have. That's how they beat Texas Tech. That's how they beat every other team, is because they can keep running people in, fresh body, and they can. It's like their 2s are really right up there with their 1s, and so you've got like a repeat of a great team that can keep running people in there. And that's why, I think I appreciate you, Ryan, and I love your opinion, and I think you're right most of the time. But this time, I think Florida's going to win it all.
Lee, first of all, thank you for calling and pushing through despite your illness. We appreciate the dedication. Number 2, I think it's just worth letting the audience know, Lee is a Florida fan. If you couldn't tell by the enthusiasm there, Lee is a Gators fan. With that said, look, the reason why, Lee, I think Duke can beat him is just because when you look at Duke, I just can't find I don't know what their weakness is. And for Florida, I think it's a little concerning. For the last few games we've seen, there have been times when they need to make some stops. They haven't. They haven't been able to make some stops. That defense has been able to, to be had. And with how Duke's able to score, with the level and the depth of scoring that they have, along with their ability to play great defense. They're not just an offensive machine. They play great defense. They are extremely well-rounded. I got to see it to believe it. for Florida to beat Duke. I'm not going in, if that's a national title game, which I expect it to be, I'm not going in there saying Florida's winning. They got to prove me wrong. I look at Duke right now with how they've been playing. I just don't see anyone right now losing to them. I really don't. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. We'll continue to take your thoughts here on the tournament, on the Steelers QB situation, and when we return, what should expectations be for Deion Sanders after his new deal? I'll tell you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Looking for a man after midnight? You've come to the right place. It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on into Hick at Night. It is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. A happy Sunday. And thank you for choosing to spend some of it with us right here on the Infinity Sports Network. So it was a good weekend for yours truly. It was 80 degrees here in New York City on Saturday. Got a little bit of summer in the air, so it was nice to be outside, get some sun. My girlfriend and I actually went ring shopping. I know it's around that time, so that's always a fun and interesting time, but it was a productive trip. So we got to spend some time outside, got to have a productive ring shop, if you will. Good weekend. Good weekend. Got to hang out with some friends, but my weekend did not compare to the weekend Deion Sanders did. That's because over the weekend, he just signed a measly 5-year, $54 million deal. No biggie whatsoever. Safe to say, signing a deal over $50 million is probably better than going ring shopping and hanging out in 80 degree weather. Just a thought. But now at $10.8 million per season on average for Deion Sanders after this new extension that keeps him in Colorado, by the way, until 2029. He's now the fourth highest paid coach in all of college football, behind only Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, and Dabo Swinney, who have combined to win 5 national championships. So now that Deion is getting paid big, it's time for him to start winning big at Colorado. You're not paying a head coach top 5 money to go 9-4 and make the Alamo Bowl every single year. To make this contract worth it, I think Colorado has to be regularly winning the Big 12 and routinely in the college football playoff. That's what this contract justifies. That's what this contract means. Look at every coach above and just below Deion in this price range here, in this salary range. Kirby. What's the expectation of him at Georgia? Win national titles every single year. Ryan Day, same thing. Dabo Swinney, same thing. Steve Sarkisian, expectation, compete for national titles every single year. Same with Dan Lanning at Oregon. Same with Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. You know, every coach in the either above or below Deion, when it comes to the highest paid coaches in college football, every coach has that expectation. Compete for and win championships. Win your conference regularly. Have the college football playoff be commonplace to where you are every single December. That's the expectation. Why should that change with Deion? Why should Deion be any different? I think I'm going to make an assumption here. I know it's always a dangerous game, but I like to think I know you listening pretty well. So I'm going to assume most of you listening to this show right now look at Deion as a good college football head coach. Hell, some of you may think he's already a great college football head coach. Whether you think he's a good coach or a bad coach, this year, moving forward, this is when we're truly going to find out how good of a coach Deion is, what kind of coach he is. Because now you're going to see him coach without a top 5 quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. Now you're going to see him coach without having the best player in college football last year on his team playing both ways in Travis Hunter. Deion's gotten some wins, highlighted by Juju Lewis, the number 2 overall quarterback in last year's class, committing to Colorado to play for him. So he's gotten the buy-in of a few high-level recruits. But now you're going to really see the type of coach Deion is when some of the most talented players in his program leave to go to the NFL. Can you reload like top coaches do every single year? Can you identify, develop talent every single year? We don't know with Deion. He's really had the same group of guys going from high school to Jackson State to Colorado. This is the first year he's coaching without a son. Sons, plural. And Travis Hunter, who he assumes and treats like a son. Now you're going to see truly what Deion is as a coach. But at least in terms of expectations, they should be sky high. Now, when you're paying this guy that much money, I get it's more than just football, right? Because the impact Deion has had at Colorado is far more than just wins. He's made Colorado relevant for the first time in a long time. He's driven up revenue for the school. Enrollment has increased. There's a lot of people that want to be connected to the Coach Prime experience. So I get part of the contract has to do with that, with the attention that Deion, for who he is, what he said. I get there is some part of the contract that is almost, if you will, the Deion fee. Of everywhere he goes, attention gravitates around him. And with him at Colorado, as long as he's there, Colorado is relevant. But with that said, some of that relevancy goes away. Deion's always going to be a star, so everything he's going to do is always going to make headlines and be talked about. But in this world of sports that we're in, with so many different options to divert our attention, if you're not winning, most of the time, nobody cares. Nobody cares what you do. Nobody cares what you say, unless it's pretty crazy. If you lose, no one cares. And so if you're Colorado now, and Deion continues to go 8-5, 9-4, maybe once in a while you're in the mix, but you're not winning the Big 12. You're not making the college football playoff. Pretty soon, there are plenty of other things that capture our attention in college football that have nothing to do with Deion Sanders or Colorado. That relevancy is not a guarantee. Being the center of the college football world is not a given if you're not winning. And so now, losing your 2 best players, kind of moving ahead in this new era, but getting paid like you're one of the best coaches in college football, Deion's got to step up and produce here. He's got to be getting this team to the next level. He got them from 1-11 to now getting them to a bowl game in year number 2. Now it's taking the next leap to college football playoff contention. And if we're not talking about that with Colorado here over the next few years, it to me feels like he's not living up to that end of the deal, end of the bargain. And I'm not even expecting much in 2025 from Colorado. This team's not a playoff team. This team's not going to be one of the teams competing for the Big 12 title. I mean, Arizona State, I think, is the team to beat next year with bringing back Sam Leavitt, even though they lose their running back Cam Scatterbo. But like, the Big 12 is Iowa State going nowhere. Again, I think Arizona State team to beat. I think Kansas State's going to come back with their quarterback returning, Avery Johnson. They're going to have, they're always a tough out. Like I think Utah under Kyle Whittingham, really well coached. They're a really tough team. They're to me not going anywhere. The Big 12 is tough. There are some good teams there. It's not a cakewalk now for Colorado and Deion Sanders to expect to go to the Big 12 title game every year and win. But even this year, I looked at their schedule. They get some tough. I think Colorado's going 6-6. I think they'll be lucky to get to a bowl game this year. And it's funny because we had Brian Howell on, who actually was the one who broke the news of Buff Zone, who broke the news of the Deion Sanders extension. He was on the JR Sport Brief show back on Friday. And JR asked him, hey, like, what are your expectations here for 2025? Is this a team that maybe could win the Big 12 and make a playoff run? Here's what Brian Howell had to say.
You know, you ask them, obviously, and the expectation is to keep it going. I mean, there's plenty of people around the program that think they're going to be better than they were last year. I'm one that's skeptical on that. I mean, it's hard for me to think you're going to be better when you lose Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, but I think that they're certainly building a program more so than they have in recent years and under previous staff. So I think there's a better foundation there than there's been in a long time, and I think they've got a lot of good young players, and they've got some nice transfers that are coming in. So I think there's that potential. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if they won 9 games again and competed in the Big 12. But I still think the floor for this team, to me, is a bowl game.
So Brian's saying floor for this team is 6 wins. And you look at their schedule next year, they start off with Georgia Tech, who is a very tough – I think Georgia Tech's going to be good next year. Georgia Tech is a team that early on is getting some love here to compete and possibly win the ACC next year. I think it's a game Colorado loses. BYU comes to town with Jake Retzlaff, who was a great story last year. BYU is a top 10 team for most of the year. BYU, very tough team. Iowa State, very tough team. You're at Utah, very difficult place to win. Arizona State's on your schedule. Kansas State's on your schedule. You're on the road there, going to Manhattan. I think Colorado's at 6-6 next year. And again, is Colorado next year at 6-6, commanding a lot of the headlines where they have the last 2 years? I don't think so. And so when you look at this new deal that Deion got, making him the 4th on average, 4th highest paid coach in college football, the expectations now jump up. It's now playoff or bust. When you look at the tier that he's in terms of coaching salary, those bring, if you're paying your coach a lot of money, that brings high expectations. That should not change with Deion compared to every other coach in that bracket. And if Deion can't come through, you have to question if you're Colorado, was this contract worth it? There's a lot of pressure now in Deion. First time coaching without his sons, new era starting, big target on his back. I mean, big target always, but now especially being the 4th highest paid coach, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations now in that Colorado program going forward. And I, for one, don't see Colorado magically jumping up and becoming a college football playoff contender next year or in the next few years. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Do you believe Deion Sanders can make Colorado a legitimate college football playoff contender? 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. I don't, but if you do, you can convince me. I want to hear from you at that number. Also, you could tweet your case on Twitter, Ryan_Hickey3, or right in the chat on YouTube. Infinity Sports Network is where you can find the live stream of the show on our YouTube page every single Sunday. 888-710-4ISN. We talked a lot of hoops so far. Also a lot of NFL here last hour as well, in case you missed that. Hick At Nite podcast, Nite spelled Nite, available wherever you do get your pods. That's where you can hear the conversation about basically the Steelers quarterback situation. Why I believe if you're Pittsburgh, enough's enough waiting with Aaron Rodgers. Go trade for Kirk Cousins. You're going to get similar production from Kirk as you would Aaron. He's younger. I think at this stage in his career, better. And he provides less headaches. So if you're a borderline playoff team anyway, with a quarterback that you're not going to feel good about in 2025, get the guy that's less of a headache, that's more of a joy to be around. And I think that could raise the ceiling of the Steelers offense more than Aaron Rodgers would. Go and make the trade, give up some draft capital, and go get Kirk Cousins on your team. 888-710-4ISN. Let's go down to Georgia and talk to Jim. You're on the Infinity Sports Network. What's up, Jim?
Oh, nothing much. Now, have you heard much about the radio shows and what's going on in Atlanta with Kirk?
I have not listened to the radio down in Atlanta.
He is a big
you fill me in,
baby.
Jim. He's a big
He's
baby.
being a big baby.
Why is that?
He's wanting any team that's in draft position that could draft a quarterback to tell him we're not going to draft another quarterback. Minnesota said it would be nice to have him back because he already knows their offense, been there.
So Jim,
then
you're calling Kirk a baby going back to this time last year when he was upset that the Falcons didn't give him a heads up that they're going to draft a quarterback in the first round. And you think he's a baby because of that?
there's no guarantees in life.
They gave him a 4-year, $100 million deal?
Yeah, the money. I mean, take the money and run.
He is, and now he's going to get paid right now to sit on the bench, but he wants to leave. He wants to play.
Then it got out that after Minnesota said something and Cleveland had said something about the no trade and the one to guarantee I'm the quarterback. Nobody's going to guarantee you're the starting quarterback.
Where have you seen that, Jim? Because I haven't seen Kirk Cousins
It's all
talking anywhere.
over radio. It's all over radio down here.
Is it facts, Jim?
It's facts. I mean, they're
facts
on the local radios are saying that it looks like the Falcons are going. I mean, he's here as the backup no matter what. We're just paying the backup more than the starter.
And you think the Falcons? You're okay with that, Jim, as a Falcons fan?
Well, they're the home team, but I don't expect much. You know who I usually root for?
Who's that?
The teams that have the most University of Georgia players on their roster.
So you're an Eagles fan, Jim.
So I rooted for the Eagles all the way.
All right, Jim, that's fine.
But if you look at when the Falcons picked, we could have had 3-4 of them players on our roster.
Yep.
We don't.
You are not wrong about that, and that's, I mean,
And
slightly
then
an issue, but
one thing about Deion Sanders.
Sure.
He built Jacksonville, stayed up in 4-5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the Celebration Bowl twice, the championship of the black colleges.
Yep.
He didn't win it. He left. Over half the team left. A guy that played receiver at Jackson State that was a coach at another school got the job. In 2 years, he built the numbers up, got his talent. Last year, they had a parade and a party in Jackson because he won the Celebration Bowl in his second year.
So what's your point, Jim?
Well, he did a lot better than Deion did in 2 years than Deion did in 4 or 5 years.
All right.
And then last
you're
year,
down.
So then last year, Oregon had to come off of the Colorado schedule going to the Big Ten.
Yep.
Okay. 2 other teams that were supposed to come on their schedule because of college realignment didn't. But all 3 of those are perennial. Those would have been kick-butt teams. Take away if Oregon had stayed on the schedule and them 2 teams would have came in, you're looking at a 6-17 this year in Colorado. And you barely beat, North Dakota State, and the guy from Texas Tech pee-pooed the game away against him.
No, I mean, Jim, you make a lot of good points, and I appreciate the call. I'm with you in terms of right now doubting. Like, when you are, I don't think Deion can make Colorado a college football playoff contender. I don't. I'm with you. He's done a good job getting a few players to come to Jackson State and then go with him to Colorado. There's a big difference between bad and good, good and great. Can Colorado make a jump from good to great? I don't think so. Not under Deion. But you're paying him like he will make that jump from good to great when you give him top 4 college football coaching salary. The expectation is put on themselves by this contract. I'm with you, Jim. I don't believe that we'll be talking about Colorado next year in the college football playoff conversation. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. Question we are starting this hour of the show off with. Deion is the 4th highest paid, Deion Sanders that is the 4th highest paid college football coach in the country right now. Do you believe Deion can make Colorado a playoff team? I'm not even saying just next year, just in general in his tenure. Do you think Colorado will be in the college football playoff mix more times than not under Deion Sanders here over the next few years? 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. We'll get your thoughts on also when we return here. We started off at 68 teams. We are now down to 4. I want to talk about who I thought did the greatest coaching job so far this tournament. I'll give that to you when we do return. It is Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
Despite losing today, I thought Tom Izzo did the best coaching job of any coach in the tournament this year. Because I don't think anyone got more from their team than Izzo did this tournament, but also even beyond that, this season. Michigan State was not heralded this year, going into this year. This was not one of those legendary Spartans teams that fans are going to remember for years on end. This was a ho-hum group that really came in with no buzz whatsoever. You know, they were picked to finish by the media 5th in the Big Ten in preseason. CBS Sports had an article before the year calling Michigan State one of the most overrated teams in the Big Ten. You look at the preseason AP poll, Michigan State was not a top 25 team. They didn't even get votes. You know, like you have like 10, 12 teams receiving votes. They didn't even get one vote to make the receiving votes list for the preseason top 25. No one thought this team would amount to anything. No one bought into this roster at all. There were no, 5-star guys. There were no big-time transfers that kind of tickled your fancy and got you excited about Michigan State going into this season. Yet, despite that, we saw Michigan State, one of the best conferences in college basketball, win the regular season in the Big Ten. Made it to the Elite Eight. And I think went a lot further than anybody ever would have thought. They were a lot more consistent than anyone ever thought they would be. And I think Tom Izzo got the most out of this roster possible. And so I think when you look at, not saying that Bruce Pearl didn't do a great coaching job this year. Obviously he did. Did a great job. John Shire, outstanding. All 4 coaches in the Final Four left. They're great coaches. You don't make the Final Four with having a bad coach most times. Maybe Kevin Allen notwithstanding. But if you're a Final Four team, you do so with usually a great coach. So that's a given. But also, those guys have talent. Bruce Pearl is one of the most talented rosters in the country. We've talked about a lot on the show so far. The 4 teams left are the 4 best teams in college basketball, and they have been all season long. So it's also easy to be a good coach when you have good talent around you. I don't think Michigan State was very talented this year. I don't think Tom Izzo, if you talked to him before the season, I don't think he expected much. So to get his team this far, I think for me, there's no coach that got more out of less than Izzo. And I think that's why you hear in his post-game press conference that you're about to listen to, that's why you hear him not get upset that the end is here, not try to bemoan the referees and say that they were robbed, but you almost hear both exhaustion, but also praise from a legendary coach because he knows that this team, at least on paper, had no business going this far. Take a listen to Tom Izzo earlier today after the loss.
I'm not sure I've ever been prouder in a team, and there's so much coach speak and things that go on in programs all over, but these guys gave me everything they had and drained them of everything. They should take a week off. There's nothing left in them, and that's kind of the way it was in the locker room. It was a tear-jerking locker room because they knew they spilled it all.
They did. They gave it all. There's no doubt about it, and they went a lot further than anyone, especially back in October, November, ever thought they would. So I know he's not going to the Final Four, but I think for me, I don't think there was a coach that did a better job, not just in this tournament, but I think throughout this season in college basketball than Tom Izzo did. Did a great, great job with the roster that he had and getting truly the most out of it here in 2024, 2025. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. Let's go over to Dallas, talk to David. What's up, David?
Hey, how you doing tonight?
What's going on, man? I'm doing well, buddy. What's on your mind?
I'll talk some Final Four, but first I just want to say thoughts and prayers to Indiana men's basketball. Lost pretty much the entire roster to grads and transfer portal. So
yeah, I think they lost every
player,
right? I believe.
Yeah, but hey, at least no more Trey Galloway. So I'll take that. I'm actually.
I'm assuming you're an Indiana fan, David.
Yeah.
But, you just got Mike Whitson out of there. That's good.
Yeah, right. It actually, the transfer portal kind of makes me reminisce and cherish the days where you had, Shelvin Max and two Holloways and even Aaron Crafts, staying 3-4 years at one university. And, we don't really see that anymore. But, hey, it's breeding competition and, NIL and all that stuff. There's a lot of good components to it. But I'm glad you said what you said about Michigan State because they aren't like the same Michigan State that we've seen in years past. I don't think anybody thought they would get as far as they did. In my opinion, the teams in the Final Four, I know they're all one seeds, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's no fun. Where's the FAU or the FGCU and all those guys?" But these are the four teams who were the most dominant teams during the year, and they 100% deserve to be there. If you look at the rest of the, AP top 25 or the rest of the teams in the tournament, like how is Memphis, right? I think they ended up ranked 16, right? Mm-hmm. But they can barely beat like Alabama, Birmingham, and Tulane. I mean, that's 10 years ago, the top 16 team in the nation is still going like 28 and 3 and beating crazy good teams. And I don't know. I know it just means that the competition maybe is a lot better, but the flakiness amongst these quote unquote great teams is just pretty bad. Like Alabama.
I mean, it changes, like you said, like with NIL and the transfer portal. And thanks for the call, Dave. Like it does change. I think every team's basically outlook every single year. But to your point, like what you said earlier, the four teams left in college basketball are by far, the four unquestioned best teams all season long. That's to me, I get excited about that. I know there's no Cinderella. I don't mind because when you're looking now at what the Final Four is going to be these next 3 games here in San Antonio, I'm excited because I think we're going to truly see the 4 best teams battle it out to win a title. And sometimes with Cinderella, when her run is over and midnight strikes, those games could get ugly. There's no easy path for any of these 4 teams to win a title. There's no, they got lucky here, lucky there. With very little upsets, like you're playing the best of the best every single game. That's what you want. And you want to talk about Memphis or whatever, like I think the top 4, 5, 6 teams in college basketball, for the most part, separated themselves. And then from there, 12 to 15, 12 to 20, they, fluctuated. There was definitely a lot more parity in the bottom half of the top 25 compared to the top half, where there was a clear divide for most of the year. Who was the elite team? Who wasn't? And you saw who was in that pretty early, and they stayed there all season long. So this season's kind of played out, or I should say, this tournament has played out really as the regular season has. Some changes at the bottom, some fluctuation, but really the teams at the top, they've stayed at the top all season long. And now we're seeing the 4 best teams are as the only 4 teams left standing here in college basketball. I, for one, am excited for it. And I think this Final Four we're going to have is going to be a great one. One of the best ones we've had in a while. Because it truly is, it's rare to say, but we truly have, as of 4 teams remaining, the 4 best teams in college basketball. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. That is the number to get your voice heard on the show. Also, you can tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter, or right in our chat that can be found on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube page. When we return, we'll continue to get your thoughts here on a lot of different topics. We're kind of bouncing all over the place here, but also, let's talk some hockey. Alex Ovechkin did it again. Goal number 890. 5 away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's record. Will he get in the regular season? We'll discuss after we get this latest sports update from Peter Schwartz.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
A riddle sponsored by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at progressive.com. Let's begin with March Madness. The Final Four all set. All 4 number 1 seeds are going to the Final Four.
Tennessee will inbound. They will dribble it out. And H-Town ready to invade the Alamo City. The Houston Cougars, for the 7th time in school history, are headed to the Final Four. A 69-50 win over the Tennessee Volunteers.
In the Midwest Regional Final, Kevin Kugler on the NCAA Westwood One Radio Network. LJ Cryer, 17 points. The Cougars to face Duke in the Final Four. In the South region, Auburn over Michigan State, 70-64. Johnny Broom scoring 24 points and pulling down 14 rebounds. Auburn will face Florida in the Final Four. Also from college basketball, Kevin Willard steps down as Maryland head coach. He was named the new head coach at Villanova. Now to the NCAA Women's Tournament.
72-65, 3.9 seconds. Inbounds to Flage, cross the timeline. The running three from the top of the key. No good off the left side of the rim. And what a difference a year makes for UCLA. They were ousted by LSU in the Sweet 16 in Albany. Here in the Elite Eight, they're victorious, 72-65.
Over LSU, the call on the NCAA Westwood One Radio Network. Also, South Carolina advancing to the Final Four with a 54-50 win over Duke. South Carolina's 5th straight trip to the Final Four. Now to the NBA, the Rockets over the Suns, 148-109. The Warriors beat up on the Spurs, 148-106. T-Wolves 123, Pistons 104. Knicks over the Blazers 110-93. Baseball, Padres over the Braves 5-0. Hockey in the third, Kings 6, Sharks 1. Sabres over the Capitals 8-5. Alex Ovechkin his 890th goal. I'm Peter Schwartz.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night. Here's Ryan Hickey.
All right, as we get set here for the Final Four, we could witness some history here. Before that, though, we've talked a lot about, we've taken a few calls tonight about player movement, right, in college basketball, NIL, some good, some bad. We've had calls on both sides. Well, this is from David Warlock, who's really a Mr. March Madness. All the great stats, all the great info as the NCAA, basically media czar of March Madness. David Warlock does tweet a lot of these things out. So this just highlights, by the way, the current state of college basketball. Before today, before this weekend, there have been only 2 players in NCAA tournament history that have played in 2 Final Fours for different teams. They're both in the late 70s, early 80s. One for Indiana, one for Indiana Duke, one for UNC Iowa. This year alone, there are 3 players that are now making their second Final Four appearance with a different team. Elijah Martin, who did it with FAU, now is on Florida. LJ Cryer, doing it with Houston, was also on Baylor, a team that won the national title back in 2020 or 2021. And Mason Gillis, who was in the national title game last year for Purdue, now is on Duke back in the Final Four. That right there just goes to show you how different college basketball is. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it works both ways, player movement. In the sense of, I think it brings excitement because now you can turn your season around literally in just one off season and go from worst to first easier than ever. But also with that said, I think it is a little tough and you lose something. And we had a caller just say this before, when you don't have those guys that are there for 3 or 4 years, the Aaron Crafts, the Tyler Hansboroughs. Like, I think you lose some storylines when you don't have guys staying at the same school for 3 or 4 years. I think it takes a little bit of juice out of rivalries when names and faces are switching every single year. So I think it works both ways, but that just highlights, and that's one stat right there to show you kind of the difference in college basketball today versus any other era. And the other thing here is we could see some history from Houston. Because according to David Warlock, no team has ever won a national title by facing the highest seed possible in every round. Houston has a chance to do that, where they played the 12 seed. Then they faced, the 8 seed. They played the 16 seed. Then they played the 8 seed. Then they played the 4 seed. Then they played the 2 seed. That is the highest possible seeding they could play in each game. And now, if they win 2 more games, they are guaranteed to face 2 1 seeds. They're playing Duke, and they obviously play the winner of Florida-Auburn. Houston with a chance to make history in terms of winning and becoming the first national champion with the hardest path to face the highest seed in every possible game. Those stats, we thank David Warlock for sharing those there on Twitter. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4ISN. It is Ryan Hickey right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Before we get back to your calls, hiccups there. Some late night hiccups. Before we get back to your thoughts here, we are seeing the great chase come down to the wire. Alex Ovechkin lit the lamp earlier today for goal number 890. Take a listen how it sounded, courtesy of Monumental Sports.
Deflection that went high. Alex is still there. Score! He can see the mountaintop from here. We're at DEFCON 5.
DEFCON 5 meaning 5 goals away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's record of 994 career goals. Now, I know that's been, for a lot of people, right, that's a record that was thought to be unbreakable. It's going to be broken. And I think it's going to be broken this year. There are 9 games left in the season. Ovi needs 5 goals. You look at his pace so far. In 57 games, because he broke his leg earlier this year, which is just incredible that he came back, number 1, so quickly. Number 2, hasn't missed a beat. 37 goals in 57 games Ovechkin has scored so far this season. He's on pace to break the record. Basically on pace to break it like the last game of the year. I hope he gets a number 1. I think records are meant to be broken. I think he's, at least in my lifetime, being 30 years old, he's the greatest goal scorer I've ever seen. And it's different because, like with Gretzky, right, he was so good, and you take away his goals, he's still the all-time leading point scorer because he just was able to find his teammates as well. He's an elite passer. So his game was just great all around. I think it's, in a way, a little bit more impressive when Ovechkin breaks the record, just because I don't call him a one-trick pony. That's unfair. But like, Ovi's not known for his passing. You know, his vision on the ice is not exactly heralded the way it's heralded for Wayne Gretzky. So it kind of be, in a way, just a gifted goal scorer, and teams are only worrying about you shooting, yet he is still scoring at an elite rate. That, to me, is impressive. He deserves a lot of credit for it. I'm rooting for him. I hope he gets it this year. It's a lot like Albert Pujols when he was chasing 600. And it was getting to the point where I'm like, oh boy, he's going to have to come back next year. You know, like it got to like August and he's like 20 away or whatever it was. I'm like, oh my God. He's going to come back. He's going to get like 4 away. He's going to just be hacking away and hopefully get it like a month or 2 into the season. Then we'll just retire. Like, because it was clear, right? End of Albert Pujols' career, he was running out of gas. He did not have another year left in him. And so I was relieved for Alex. Why do I say Alex? Albert, excuse me. I was relieved for Albert when he was able to surpass the 600 mark at the end of the regular season. Now that'd be 2 years ago, and not have to carry it over to try to, get to that plateau and then maybe retire like a month into the year. So I was happy that he kind of really got hot late. But that honestly should serve as inspiration for Alex Ovechkin and almost, again, serve as more impressive because this guy at his age is white hot. He has 37 goals. He's one of the best goal scorers in the league this year. This year. It's incredible what he's doing. He's finishing on a hot streak. He's going nowhere. Still got a few years left in the tank. He's going to break Gretzky. Now, I don't think his goal record, whenever it does end, 1,050, 1,100, whatever it may be, I don't think we'll view that as unbreakable. And I don't think that record will stand 50, 60 years. I think, when you look at guys like Connor McDavid, et cetera, like the skill is only getting better. I think we'll see higher goal totals moving forward. But you look at the thing I hope too for Ovi, not just that he gets it. I hope that he gets it at home. That's like special for him. That's special for the fans. He's got he's only got 3 home games left, which is kind of tough. 3 home games left out of 9 games. April 13th is his final home game against the Blue Jackets. It's coming down to the wire here. Unless he goes for a hat trick like tomorrow, it's coming down to the wire. His last home game, April 13th against Columbus, finishes at the Islanders, at the Penguins. I hope we're talking about Ovi not only breaking the record this year, doing so in front of those home fans in Washington as well. Go, Ovi, go. Now 5 away from history. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. It is Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We've talked a lot. We've talked hoops. We've talked Steelers quarterback situation. We've talked Deion Sanders expectation. Actually, speaking of that, let's go to Patrick in Buffalo. Has some thoughts. What's up, Patrick? Hello, Patrick. Going once. See you later. Speaking of the Steelers quarterback situation, let's go to Warren in Minnesota. Hello, Warren.
Hi. I'm going to bring up something that nobody's talking about, and I think this is what's going to happen. I think Pittsburgh is going to draft. You're either going to draft a quarterback, and I think they're going to move up in the draft, or they're going to try to get the guy from Colorado who can catch the ball and intercept. The reason I say this, I hear there's been talks with Minnesota about guy that's forgotten about is Troy Fontenot, their first-round draft choice from last year. Now, he's an outstanding player if he's healthy. It would be perfect for the Minnesota Vikings, who need offensive lineman help, to pick him up. That would give them two first-round draft choices. The Vikings traded their first-round draft choice. And to get up to where they want to, they would probably have to give up one more draft choice for next year. I think it puts Pittsburgh in one of the top positions to move up in the draft. And here's one thing that...
Wait, hold on. So let me just get this straight here, Warren, because I'm a little confused. You believe right now the Steelers want to trade up to either draft a quarterback or draft Travis Hunter, which would mean getting inside the top 4 conservatively. And you think in order for them to get the draft capital to trade up to number 4 or number 3, they're going to trade, was it an offensive lineman they have to the Vikings to get a first-round pick?
Their first-round draft choice last year in the draft that was one of the best in a long time. Got his knee injured before the season started. He's unbelievable, and it would fit exactly what the Vikings would need. He's better than any of these offensive linemen that came out last year.
And you're willing, as a Vikings fan, to give up a first-round pick for this guy?
Definitely. And then here's the thing. Here's where I don't see him go. I don't think he's going to Pittsburgh.
Who's he?
Aaron Rodgers? I don't think Rodgers is going to Pittsburgh.
Why?
Well, because of the way the team's set up, and they're not set up to win right now. Look at what Minnesota did. Look at all the people they picked up, and they went away from what they generally try to do. They were trying to get younger with younger players. Well, they added to the mix a bunch of older players. You normally wouldn't do that. Here's another thing about Minnesota. Would you send your rookie quarterback that was injured last year, not knowing how? Warren, I
don't mean to cut you off, being rude here, but I have to because we are about to hit the break. I thank you for the call. We took 3 different exit ramps Get back on, get off. It's like the person doesn't know where they're going. I was lost for a large part of that conversation. I think the moral of the story is I don't think the Steelers will be trading up to get inside the top 4, to say the least. When we return here on Hick At Nite with Ryan Hickey, the team to beat in the Final Four is who? I'll tell you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's up all night with you.
We could do this all night.
Welcome aboard. It's Hick at Night with Ryan Hickey.
And welcome on into Hick at Night. Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Thank you for making us a part of what is now Monday, at least in the Eastern and Central time zones. Appreciate you joining us here this evening right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We are officially down to 4. Started with 68. The Final Four has been set. All number 1 seeds, all chalk for the first time since 2008. 4 1 seeds advance to the Final Four in the form of Florida, Duke, Houston, and Auburn. And when you look at now the Final Four moving forward, now that the field is set, let's talk about who the team to beat is. Because I think you look at Florida, they have been the hottest team in all of college basketball here for the last 2 months. They have a great balance of scoring, veteran-led, obviously battle-tested winning the SEC tournament title. They are, I think, a very popular pick, at least when the brackets came out, to win it all, and they've given you very little reason to otherwise doubt them. Houston plays elite defense, and now they've found an offense to keep up with that defense. They're also healthy as well, which have been 2 issues in past years that have derailed the Cougs from deeper runs and maybe having a national title banner hanging in their arena. They seem like they have found the mix that finally works for them. And Auburn, you talk about being battle-tested. You talk about being consistent. I mean, they have been the best team in college basketball really all season long. You know, they held down that number 1 spot for a while. They ran through and won the toughest conference in all of college basketball, won the regular season. There's a lot of reasons to feel good and optimistic that Florida could win a title, Houston could win a title, Auburn could win a title. With that said, though, I think this is Duke's title to lose. This is Duke's championship to lose because I don't know where their weakness is. I don't think they have a weakness going to San Antonio. They, to me, even though we're talking about the 4 best teams in college basketball remaining, they, to me, are in a class of their own compared to the other 3. First and foremost, helps when you have Cooper Flagg, the best player in all of college basketball on your roster. There's a lot of different accolades and adjectives we can use to praise Cooper Flagg's play. I'm sure if you heard them all, so I'll save it. What I'll say, though, is this. I thought Jay Williams this week said it perfectly. Cooper Flagg is the most well-rounded freshman Duke's ever seen. And he's playing like it. His game is elite. He's a great scorer, can shoot from anywhere. Hell, he's shooting 37% from the field. 37% from 3. At 6'7", he's got an inside game, he's got an outside game, but it's more than just scoring with Flagg. This is a guy that has great court vision, really good passer, and he plays really good defense. He's a great defensive player who puts effort and hustle out there. He's everything a coach would love to have. Insanely talented, very motivated, coachable, gives effort 24/7. Like, he truly checks every box. I don't know how anyone guards him. I don't know how anyone stops him. So Duke, first and foremost here, has the best player in college basketball. But even with that said, we saw Saturday against Alabama. Wasn't like Flagg lit it up. Just 6 of 16 he shot from the field for 16 points and also added in 4 turnovers. He struggled. It was not his best game by far. But yet, despite their best player not playing his A, B, or really even C game, we're talking about Duke beating the number 2 seed in the Elite 8 by 20 points. Why? Because they got more than just flag. They are more than just having the best player in college basketball on their team. Con Knippel is probably the most underrated, most unheralded player in college basketball because everything he does well is outshined by, of course, the guy who's going to go number one in the NBA draft in Cooper Flag. But this is a guy who can score, who gets buckets, who is tough, who plays the game the right way. But even beyond him, Duke has good depth. They're a physically imposing team. They're the biggest team in college basketball. This is a team that checks all the boxes. They are consistent. They are consistently dominant. And so when you look at them playing, the question keeps coming back to, what's their weakness? By the way, they're not just an offensive team. They play great defense as well. This is a team that we just saw hold Alabama, the number one offense in the country, after their three-point barrage and historic three-point shooting performance they had against BYU in the Sweet 16. We saw them held by Duke to their second lowest point total of the season with 65 points. Duke is not just an offensive scoring machine. They are elite defensively as well. They are very well-rounded. So again, I ask you, where's their weakness? Where's the area you can point to and say, that's where Duke is susceptible. That's where Houston can get them. That's where Auburn can get them. That's where Florida has a chance to win the game. Where is it? I can't find their weakness. And for all the good we talked about the other three teams, I think there's a lot of good there. I think the other three teams remaining do have a weakness, do have an area that can be exploited by the Blue Devils and lead them to a title. Like you look at Florida, for all the talent they have been a little streaky, and they have been careless with the basketball. Part of the reason why UConn was hanging around till the bitter end, part of the reason why they found themselves in a 9-point deficit late against Texas Tech and needed a miracle and really got lucky that Tech missed their free throws as to why they're still alive is because they've been sloppy with the basketball. 41 turnovers in their last 3 games. They have given other teams second, third opportunities. Those teams have capitalized. You do that to Duke, you will not be moving on the way Florida has last 3 games. Houston, for how great they are defensively and how great they are shooting the three, their 2-point shooting is iffy, to say the least. Inside the arc, they are shooting just 48.5%. That's good enough to rank in the country 281st. Not great. Not great if you can't hit some mid-range jumpers. Can't hit your layups. That's a problem. Not to mention, with the style of play that Houston has, they are not prone to getting to the free throw line a lot. You know, they don't really cause defenses tension in the sense of fouling and getting to the line for free points. So Houston's a team that with their aggressive defense fouls a good amount, but never really gets other teams in foul trouble. That's a little concerning, again, especially when you're trying to face a team like Duke and take them down. One of the ways to minimize the Blue Devils, even though they have good depth, is get some of their star guys in foul trouble. Houston doesn't have the ability to do that. That's not how their offensive identity is built. And for Auburn, I mean, first and foremost, we just saw the Janai Broome injury. That's concerning. Well, he able to come back in the game and at least finish, I put in air quotes. This is a guy who fell down in the second half against Michigan State and hyperextended his elbow to where his right arm was taped up, and everything he did after going back to the training room, getting it looked at, getting it taped up, everything he did with his left arm, rebounded, passed, he didn't do anything righty. High fives, all lefty. That right arm is giving him problems. He'll get healthier between now and Saturday, but if he's not 100%, good luck trying to beat Florida, let alone beat Duke with your best player. And I think behind Flag, Broome's been the second best player in college basketball this year. So he's not going to be at 100%. And this is also an Auburn team that has kind of been lackadaisical at times, that has played with their food, has kept teams around longer than they should. I mean, Michigan State, they should have buried. They did not. They allowed the Spartans to hang around. They never really got within arm's length. But still, kept them around just enough to make it interesting, more interesting than it should have been. You're down by 9 to Michigan about halfway through the second half, like before a furious comeback, but they have put themselves in some situations where maybe you're not going to get as lucky coming back and beating Duke as you were beating Michigan. So I think the other three teams, while they are, I think, add up with Duke, the four best teams in college basketball all season long, the other three teams outside of Duke have a weakness, have an area that's a question mark. Where is it with Duke? 888-710-4ISN. Where is the weakness with Duke? Why should Duke not be considered right now the title favorite going down to San Antonio? I don't see it. As someone who picked Houston, that hopes my bracket is right, I look at this match and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know anyone right now beating Duke. If you think you can name it, 888-710-4ISN. I want you to listen to John Shire, who after the game on Saturday against Alabama did react and talk about what it means to make at least his and Duke's first Final Four since 2022.
Couldn't be more excited and happy for these guys to my left. I think Tyrese and I, the feeling of losing last year at this point, every decision we made, everything we did was to get back here and then have the team have the opportunity to advance to the promised land, to go to San Antonio, to go to the Final Four.
And they did it. Good on John Shire. And that's another thing, too, because I think you could maybe before the tournament, before the season, you could have pointed to Duke's coaching as a weakness. Well, they got the players. There's no doubt about the roster being good enough. Was the coaching good enough? Is John Shire the guy to truly succeed Mike Krzyzewski and get Duke into the Final Four and winning championships on a yearly basis? And I think right now, that answer is yes. There's no doubt to think about John Shire's coaching ability, who's done a great job all season long, has kept his guys motivated, has kept them consistent as well. I think Duke, if you could have pointed to any weakness that they had, it would have been on the coaching staff, and I think even John Shire himself and the rest of his staff have done a great job this year at making sure that question is answered, or that answer in terms of if there are a concern or a weakness being no. Look around, man. Coaching, the roster, how they're playing, their style of play, their size, their physicality, their speed, their shot making, their talent, whatever you want to look at. I can't find a weakness for Duke. And that's why, for me, they are, even though we're going to a Final Four, the four best teams left in college basketball, to me, it's Duke and everybody else. It's their title to lose. 888-710-4ISN. 888-410-ISN. That is a phone number to call you. If you think there's a team right now that is better than Duke, that you have favored to win the title now that we're looking at 4 1-seeds remaining, tell me who, tell me why. 888-710-4ISN. Also, you can tweet me, Ryan_Hickey3 on Twitter. Here's what we'll do. We'll take a break right now. We'll break a little early. When we do come back, I want to get your thoughts on the tournament now as the Final Four is set, but also when we return. I think the Steelers should make a move at quarterback. And it's not to sign a guy that we all assume. There's another quarterback out there, I think, that works even better for Pittsburgh than one Aaron Rodgers. I'll tell you who it is when we do return. This is Ryan Hickey with you right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is Hick at Night. Here's Ryan Hickey.
This is crazy to me. So, one of my good friends, Rooks, is getting married here in the summertime. So, next weekend is his bachelor party. This means, number one, unfortunately, I will not be here next week. Tough timing, 2 bachelor parties in 3 weeks. The good news is this is the last time I'm taking off for a while, so I hate missing the show here on Sundays. So, after next week, I'll be here for a while. So, you can get your fix of Hick at Night here for the foreseeable future going forward. But we are going to Scottsdale, Arizona next weekend for Rooks' bachelor party. And maybe this is just me here, but like looking at flying there, flying back, especially for a bachelor party, there's going to be a lot of drinking and such. I'm like, man, as soon as the weekend's over, get me the hell home. That's kind of like me in general. As soon as something's done, I just want to get out of there and go home as quick as possible and just kind of be in my own surroundings. And so we're trying to kind of, in this group text tonight, we're kind of trying to coordinate rides and such as 20 people going. I've never been on a bachelor party that big. It's insane. So we're trying to figure out rides to the airport, going there, coming back. And so people are posting what time they're leaving. Again, this is Scottsdale, Arizona. Most people going on this trip are East Coast based, whether it's New York, whether it's DC, Pittsburgh, mostly flying across the country here to go. And I'm looking at some of these times that some of my friends are leaving. 11:51 p.m. Sunday, 10:35 p.m. Sunday, 11:51 p.m. I could not imagine. I'm flying out at noon, Arizona time. I'm getting the hell out of Dodge. I could not imagine going on a bachelor party, drinking all weekend, kind of waking up in that fog and hungover, and then having to take a 4-5 hour flight, red eye, home. That sounds like hell on earth. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my anxiety of like kind of when the weekend's over, I just want to get home. I could not imagine, number one, hanging around all day waiting for that flight to come. And then number two, boarding that flight that late. Oh, I feel like that would set you back like a week. I would need a week off. If that was the case where you're flying in, you land probably what? I mean, if you're leaving at 11:30.
Plus the time difference,
right.
too.
You're
That's
leaving
like, what, 3
hours?
Yeah, so if they got in, probably come in at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, right?
But think about it. So if you fly, right, let's say you're going from, because a lot of these guys are DC based. You're going from Arizona to DC. You leave at 11:30 Arizona time. That's 2:30 DC time.
Right.
So you're leaving at 2:30. You're probably land, let's say 6:37 a.m.
Yeah.
So Monday's already shot.
Right.
And then you're going to sleep all day Monday. Can you fall asleep on Monday night if you sleep all day Monday? I have no idea.
Yeah.
You feel like crap. You're still trying to
Yeah, you're better off like flying earlier in the day because you can, if you land around. I mean, not that even landing at 10:30, 11 o'clock is any better, but at least like
you get someone on a normal.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I can get back. I can get home. I'll go to bed. I can get to bed. Maybe I'll take off Monday for work, but still.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely take off Monday for work, but yeah, I've done that red eye before. Like I flew to Utah not too long ago. The same thing. Like try to take a flight in the middle of the day, because then like you get back. Because like same thing. Like we took around 5. Like.
Right, you try to make it as normal as possible.
It was like a 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock flight. We probably didn't, got back to New York. It was like 12 o'clock, like it was midnight, and you're just like, wow, like it's so different. Because I mean, we took a really early flight leaving here in New York to go to Utah, but you got there at like
you gained the hours.
You gained the hours, so you didn't really. No, oh my, that's crazy. Leaving at 11:30 at night on Sunday. But I mean, God forbid, the flight gets delayed. And then
I didn't think about that.
Like a delayed flight. They're pushing it back even more.
Oh God! I have the Sunday scares ready for them.
I mean, that gives me anxiety. I'm not even going on this trip.
Oh my God!
You're smart. Get out at like noon or 1 o'clock. You can cut back here. Late evening. You'll still be tired, but at least you can go to bed and somewhat
right. Try to get back on a somewhat of a routine versus. I mean, maybe they could sleep on the plane. I don't know, but God bless them. Yeah, that's. I got the chills. Again, nice old tease here for the last segment of the show, Sunday Scaries. But boy, oh boy, let me tell you an early Sunday Scaries story. 11:30 flight Sunday night after a bachelor party across country. Woo. Scary. It's Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. All right. So, why the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers don't yet have a deal done is completely befuddling to me. It's March 31st now. How have they not have a deal signed when both need each other? Like, you look at the Steelers, they need a quarterback. missed out in free agency in getting a QB. Could have had Sam Darnold, couldn't get the deal done. Every other option is gone. They wanted to re-sign or at least keep one of Fields, Russ. Didn't do that 0 for 2. And now you're looking at the QB field, at least in free agency, it's basically Rodgers or bust. But it's not like if you're the Steelers, you can say, oh, well, we're going to, draft a quarterback and go the draft and develop route. You traded for DK Metcalf, which signals you're trying to win right now. You are building, or your team is already built to compete in 2025 and beyond. So you're not going to go, oh, we're going to play the long game here. We're going to draft a quarterback and see how it goes. You need a veteran quarterback to run your offense here in 2025. There's only one option you have right now, ostensibly. It's Aaron Rodgers. Why wouldn't you get the deal done? If you're Rodgers, you have no other option. Vikings said no. No other team has even so much as looked at you for the most part here. Giants signed every veteran quarterback under the sun that they could. There's no room for you there in New York, the only other team that maybe wanted your services. So it's the Steelers or bust. Yet, here we are, as both sides desperately need each other with no deal done. It makes no sense. But the longer this drags on for, the more this drags out, the more the Steelers look like cucks. As Rodgers, who I think is clearly holding out hope that either the Vikings change their mind and call him back, or a quarterback, God forbid, gets hurt, and all of a sudden a playoff team that had high hopes now need a quarterback. Here's Aaron Rodgers. He's clearly waiting for a better option right now than Pittsburgh. So I think it's time for Pittsburgh to put their foot down. Say enough's enough. Screw you. You don't want us. We don't want you. And the good news is for Pittsburgh, they do indeed have another option. It's pick up the phone, calling the Falcons, and trading for Kirk Cousins. That's what they should do. Don't wait on Rodgers. Call Kirk, trade for him, and get him to Pittsburgh ASAP. Because if you're the Steelers, I think the ceiling with a Kirk Cousins-led offense is higher than an Aaron Rodgers-led offense. I think at this point, Kirk is better than Aaron. So the fact that they're even wasting their time with Rodgers, to me, it doesn't make much sense. Go get a quarterback that can make you better in 2025 than Aaron could. I get it was an ugly ending for Atlanta, for Kirk last year. But look at this. Kirk at least has some highs last year. He had a half a season that was impressive, and the Steelers would want. First 9 games of the year last year. Falcons went 6-3. Big reason, Kirk Cousins' play. 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He still has some juice left in the tank. That's a guy who played well. Atlanta averaged nearly 25 points per game the first half of the season. Now, I get it. The last 5 games, the bottom completely fell out. He sucked. Got benched. I thought got benched, honestly, later than he should have with how bad he played. But yes, he crash landed, no doubt about it. But at least there were some highs that got off the ground. Go back to last year with Aaron Rodgers. Is he doing anything like Kirk did with 17 touchdowns in a 9-game stretch? Averaging nearly 25 points per game. That Jets offense was putrid last year. Maybe outside of week 3 against the Patriots on a Thursday night game where Aaron and the offense looked good, what other point this season did the Jets offense look competent? Look at me. Competent. I couldn't tell you one time. Can you tell me one time the Jets offense looked anything remotely similar to what the Falcons offense looked like under Kirk Cousins? I couldn't find you a stretch. I couldn't find you 2 or 3 games that match what Kirk did in Atlanta. I know the ending was bad, but when you include the crash landing of the last 5 games from Kirk Cousins, the Falcons with Kirk still had more passing yards per game than Aaron Rodgers-led Jets offense did. And the Falcons averaged more points per game of Kirk Cousins running that ship than the Jets did all season with Aaron Rodgers. The ceiling with Kirk is higher. This team is better with Kirk compared to Aaron. And I think you got to feel even better. I know they both are coming off Achilles tears, but I think you got to feel even better if you're Pittsburgh of, okay, for a style of play, Kirk will be even better next year, fully removed from the Achilles. And you got to think his consistency will be a little bit better next season. So why wait if you're Pittsburgh? Why play this game of honestly looking like a joke? This is supposed to be a proud franchise. One of the tent poles of the NFL. The Rooneys are supposed to be an example of what good ownership looks like. It's an absolute embarrassment that they're sitting here waiting for Aaron Rodgers, begging, pleading Aaron Rodgers to pick their team as he's basically, clearly, waiting for any option better than Pittsburgh. Gain control of your organization. I mean, Mike Tomlin today, down in the owners' meetings in Florida, spoke with reporters. He was asked if there was a deadline for basically when you were cut off waiting for Rodgers. And this is Mike Tomlin's answer, quote, "Not to my knowledge. I don't know that we've approached it from a deadline perspective. Certainly, as I mentioned, you'd like it to have settled circumstances, but, deadlines don't often bring that to a head," end quote. Just put your foot down. What are you doing this? Why are you playing this game of waiting for this guy to hopefully choose you when you can go out and control your own fate? Go trade for Kirk. At this point, his trade value is nothing. I don't buy what the Falcons are saying in terms of talking tough and keeping Kirk and needing a good offer. They're desperate. 5th round pick, 6th round pick. They would trade Kirk for anything. They just get that contract off their books. So I think you can get Kirk for a cheap draft price. I think you can also, with this contract, by the way, get out from under it after this year. So you're not committing, if you don't want to, more than 1 year to Kirk Cousins. Give up the late round draft capital. Get a better quarterback in here who, by the way, provides less headaches than Aaron Rodgers would. For all his faults, say what you want about Kirk, the guy is beloved, at least when he's playing well. But before the bottom fell out, Kirk had, he was doing the swag surf. Him and all the fans are swag surfing after games. He's got all the chains on. There is buy-in there. If you're Pittsburgh and you want some juice, I think fans would buy into Kirk. I don't know who's buying into Aaron Rodgers. Not at this stage of his career, not with the distractions that he has, not with the me-first attitude that he brings, and certainly not the play on the field that we've seen. Go get Kirk. You're going to get similar results anyway. The Steelers are going nowhere next year. They're a borderline playoff team. I would say right now, I don't think they make the playoffs with Kirk or with Aaron Rodgers. But at least Kirk gives you number one, the better chance to make the postseason. And then number two, I think gives you the best shot to run the best possible offense you can. Get Kirk, say goodbye to Aaron, and get going here for 2025. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476. Who is the better option for the Steelers at quarterback here in 2025? Is it Aaron Rodgers or is it Kirk Cousins? 888-710-4ISN. Let's go out to Arizona and talk to Al. What's up, Al?
I can't believe I'm actually on the phone. I waited for an hour. I had to hang up. Now I waited again. So I'm happy I'm on.
Thanks for your patience, Al. Appreciate it, buddy.
I want to share something. Let's just talk stats and facts and figure out what you think is the best thing to do here.
Let's
First of all,
stats.
I'll say one quick thing. I'm a Bears fan. I thought when the Steelers traded for Justin Fields and they didn't pick up his 5th-year option was a horrible decision, and it's costing them now because they could have him for $23 million for one season.
You know
He's
what,
an
Al?
asset.
I forgot about that. Good point. Very good point, buddy.
Okay. So last year, Aaron Rodgers is one of 6 quarterbacks to throw for 3,897 yards and 28 touchdowns or greater. One of 6, okay?
Mm-hmm.
28 touchdowns. Before the season, someone said Aaron Rodgers is coming back from his injuries and to throw for 3,900 yards and 28 touchdowns. Would you be happy with that? Of course they would. What they're not paying attention to is in the first 6-7 games, their kicker lost 2 or 3 of their games. He missed field goals, missed extra points. It destroyed their entire season. Robert Saleh got fired. He got fired. Before he was fired, their defense was giving up 17 points a game. After he was fired, they gave up just under 25. So the offense had to play against the defense for the rest of the season, and they were 2 or 3 games, further back than they should have been. So it's not totally on Aaron Rodgers. I got to tell you from my heart, Aaron Rodgers is clearly the better option for the Steelers. I think he's so selfish to put the team through what he's doing. If he's doing it, we don't know behind the scenes what's going on. I think he's selfish as can be to be causing the Steelers to have to suffer through this, where they got to figure out what to do in their draft. I don't even think they could even trade for Cousins because of the salary cap. They only have $33 million right now going into the draft. I don't even know if they can do it, make it work. It's not worth it.
Al, they can. You can make a lot of things work.
Yeah.
But look, part of my plea of them trading for Cousins is exactly the last part you said. Rodgers is very selfish. And again, it's kind of one of those, and appreciate the call, Al. Thank you for your patience, sir. Mike Tomlin said it a lot. He said, we want volunteers, not hostages. And what he says, what he means, I should say, when he says that is he wants guys that want to be there. He wants Pittsburgh Steelers. Guys that want to be a Steeler, want to give it their all. What are the Steelers right now? Are they the volunteer or are they the hostage? Feels like to me they're getting held hostage by a guy in Aaron Rodgers who can't make up his mind. Who you make a good point out, what the hell is the draft going to be? Should they draft Jackson Dart? Should they draft someone else to win right now? No idea. When are they going to find out? Who the hell knows? I mean, Rodgers, there's no reason not to sign now, so what makes you think that he's going to sign by the time the draft comes? I have no reason to believe it. But to your point about Rodgers, you want to look at some of the numbers there. 28 touchdowns, just 30. I think he was 7th in passing yards in 2024. But like you look at how the games played out. You look at his production. Well, maybe the end looks good, like the numbers in whole look good. Watch him on a game-to-game basis. He did not elevate the Jets' offense. He did not make them better. Part of the reason Robert Saleh got fired was because of the slow start the Jets had. Why? Because the offense wasn't very good. They lost the game 10-9 to the Broncos earlier in the season. Threw 3 picks against the Vikings in London. Sure, the defense got a little worse as Robert Saleh was fired, but that offense got off to a slow start. When they lost a stretch of 9 games or 9 out of 10 games, the offense averaged less than 20 points. They were not very good. Rodgers' passer rating was one of the worst in the league. Like, this has not been a guy that's elevated and played well when you needed him to. He's really struggled. And that's not a guy that I think right now has a lot of juice left in the tank. I would much rather take my chances. I think both are gambles, right? Can we acknowledge that? I'm not sitting here telling you Kirk is the perfect answer or is going to get them to be a Super Bowl contender. That's not what I'm saying. Both our options are pretty dire, if we're being real here. So now you're picking the best of the worst. I think the best of the worst option for the Steelers is Kirk Cousins. I think he gives you a little bit more juice. I think he's better at this stage of his career. And I think he'll be better for the locker room. Better fit in that offense with how they want to run it. I would go after Kirk if I'm the Steelers. I'd rather trade for a QB than wait around for Aaron Rodgers to finally make his decision of where he wants to play. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We'll get your thoughts when we do return as well. Sunday Scaries, including, I just told you before about flying and how I think ending the trip, ending vacation with a night flight to me is one of the worst things possible. Well, I have even a worse flying story for, unfortunately, passengers trying to go over to China. This is a delay that will blow your mind. We'll tell you about it after we do get this latest sports update. It's Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Here's Peter Schwartz.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with our easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. We tip off with the NCAA tournament. All 4 number 1 seeds are through to the Final Four.
Tom Izzo waving to his players saying, do not foul, as Michigan State waves the white flag. The inbound to Pettiford. Final seconds come off. War Eagle for the second time in 6 years. Bruce Pearl taking the Auburn Tigers to the Final Four.
Spiroditas on the NCAA Westwood One Radio Network. In the South Final, Auburn over Michigan State 70-64. Auburn to beat Florida in the Final Four. Midwest Regional Final, Houston over Tennessee 69-50, and the Cougars will meet Duke in the Final Four. Kevin Willard stepped down as Maryland head coach, and he is now the new head coach of Villanova. Now to the women's NCAA tournament.
Somebody's about to add to their legacy. Duke down 4, just 5 7/10 inbound coming. Richardson's inbound was batted, and it goes right to Fagan. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. 5 times in a row, South Carolina is going back to the Final Four.
The call on the NCAA Westwood One Radio Network, South Carolina advancing to the Final Four with a 54-50 win over Duke, and UCLA advancing to the Final Four, beating LSU 72-65. Now to the NBA, where the Suns fell to the Rockets 148-109, Raptors 127, Sixers 109, Warriors beat the Spurs 148-106, baseball, Padres over the Braves 5-0, NHL, Kings 8, Sharks 1, the Sabres beat the Capitals 8-5, Alex Ovechkin with his 890th goal. I'm Peter Schwartz.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
If this was the last dance of the night, will you join me till the morning light? Dance the night away 'cause it feels right. You can't stop, no. You can't stop, no. You can't stop, no.
This is Hick at Night. Here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
If you have missed any part of the show, check out the Hick at Night podcast feed, Night spelled N-I-T-E, available wherever you do get your pods, along with YouTube as well. You should be watching the show that was streamed live every single Sunday night right there on the Infinity Sports Network YouTube channel. You can also check out my own YouTube channel as well, Ryan Hickey. Just type that in. Easy to find on the tube. A lot of videos from this show posted there as well. All righty. We're at the end of the show, which I know is sad in itself. All good things must come to an end. But that also means we are now closer to the work week. It's Monday for most of you listening, or close to it, which means anxiety. The Scaries do kick in here as another work week is about to start. So, to brighten your late Sunday, early Monday, make going to work a little bit more tolerable, let's tell you a few people who have it worse than you.
The weekend is winding down. Hey, Ryan, who's got the Sunday Scaries this week?
As a reminder, this portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam and just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. That is checkethos.com. So, I told you before, nightmare, right? Nightmare flight scenario is flying late night after a long weekend out with the fellas. No, thank you. This may be worse, right? There are a few things worse in life than flight delays. There was one time a few years ago going up to beautiful Madison, Wisconsin, where I was stuck on the tarmac for 2.5 hours because, ready for this? The pilot wasn't there. He was delayed getting in. So in order to save fuel, they had to shut off the plane. It was in late August, early September, so it was hot as hell. We're sitting on the tarmac roasting. There's very little water, no AC. It was awful. It was awful. So we're all there, right? We can all agree. Not many things worse than flight delays. This may be the flight delay from hell. So this is on a United flight. And by the way, thank you and shout outs to Mike Barnes, listener of the show, did tweet me this story. I had missed it. So thank you, Mike, for contributing to the show. This story is yours. Props to you for finding it. United flight from LA to Shanghai. Supposed to be nonstop 14-hour flight. Takeoff, no problem. We're not sitting on any runways. We're not delayed. Okay, we're taking off as we should. Great. 2 hours in. Pilot gets on the loudspeaker. Tells the passengers, we got to turn around. 2 hours in, we got to turn around. And I'm sure your first thought is, oh my God, we got something mechanically wrong. Maybe there's a sick passenger, right? Your mind goes to a pretty bad spot. Well, the pilot explains why they got to turn the bird around. He gets over the PA. Yeah, this is your pilot speaking. We got to turn this bird around. We have a little issue here where I forgot my passport. Thanks for your patience. They turn the plane around 2 hours in because the pilot, the responsible one, forgot his passport. So this was a flight that took off at 2 o'clock LA time. They diverted to San Francisco. They landed in San Francisco at 5 o'clock. I don't believe they deplaned. So they're on the plane still. They take off then from San Francisco, still with the end destination of Shanghai at 8:30 and land 12:45 Shanghai time. 6 hours behind schedule. 14-hour flight nonstop. 6 hours behind schedule. Bunch of delays. You're almost on a plane for 24 hours. 24 hours. All because the pilot forgot his passport. I mean, I don't think it's drastic to say that pilot should be fired. You forget your passport and you cause that much inconvenience, you should lose your job. Because there are few things people tolerate less than flight delays, especially when it is controlled. Just bring your passport. I don't know how you get through customs. I know it's different for pilots. How do you even get on the plane without knowing for sure I have my passport? And maybe the worst part, actually no, this is the flight delay is in and of itself is pretty bad. But you maybe think, okay, well, was there at least anything given to the passengers here to help them deal with this long flight? The big thank you that United gave their passengers for their patience was 2 meal vouchers that valued $30. $30 in bad airport food meal vouchers to withstand a 6-hour delay and sit on a tarmac for 3 hours because the pilot that was supposed to fly you to an international city forgot outside of literally himself, forgot the only other thing he needed to bring, a passport.
That seems like a fair trade.
You talk about hell on earth.
I mean, my God. I mean, if I was the pilot, I would actually be embarrassed. I'm like, yeah, I'm actually the pilot idiot of the year. I forgot my passport, and we have to turn around. Like, if I was boarding off the plane, I wouldn't even say thank you. I would be like, you're an idiot. And you wasted my time.
I think every single passenger should have jumped him. Like, that's one, like, I mean, honestly, if you can't bring your passport, how can you be trusted to get these people every single trip that you fly there safely? I mean, what's next? You're going to miss the gate? You're going to miss the right runway to land on? Can't bring your passport. Opens up a giant world of trust issues that, man, I think that are just unrecoverable. That will do it for this show. Hell of an end to the show here. Big thank you to Jack Carty for producing. A big thank you to you. Thank you for making us, as always, a part of your Sunday. Don't go anywhere. Pat Boyle is up next. This has been Ryan Hickey with right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Check out the Hick at Nite podcast, Nite spelled N-I-T-E, and check me out on YouTube here as well. I will talk to you in 2 weeks. Have a great time between now and then. Stay safe, be well, and of course, be sane.
You're in a 5-minute break.